Thanks, Dad. It was good.
Yeah, thanks, Dad. Turn into Chef Boyer Lee.
Hey, fuck off, Ricky. You get one glass of juice like the rest of us, okay?
Holy fuck, sir. I didn't mean you drink too much of the precious fucking orange juice.
Well, I'm just thinking about your grandson. What's he supposed to drink?
He's gonna drink some fuck off juice. When he pours yourself a big glass and chug the whole fucking thing, you freeboater.
Actually, you can have a glass then, Ricky.
Hey, guys, Rick, come on. Everybody's waiting for you.
Where are you going with Julian?
Calm the fuck down. I'm just driving Julian down to see his lawyer, that's all.
Yeah, but you're just going to see his lawyer. What the fuck do you need this for? What the fuck are you guys up to?
Lucy, I told you I'm done. I really am this time. I actually freaked out at Julian, told him off, and said no more. Didn't I, Julian?
You freaked out? You told him off and said no more? Really?
Yeah.
See? It's just gonna be us now, running this place as a family.
I'm so impressed. You finally stood up to Julian. That's amazing.
Big time.
I need you back as soon as possible. I need you in that bedroom. 2-for-1 pizza night at Picked Up Pizza, so family pizza night? Yeah. Right?
Sounds good.
Okay, well.
Can we come back?
Oh, sorry.
Jesus Christ, Ricky!
Fuck!
It was a fucking accident. It's only a gunshot. Calm the fuck down.
Well, you woke the baby up.
Give me that. What are you doing with a loaded gun? Come on.
Love you guys.
$6 for the truck and $9 for the covered bridge.
Oh, the cock's cute. How much do you want for the cock?
I'd have to charge $12 for my cock. I put a lot of work into that one. Thanks a lot. Enjoy my cock. Ali?
You're turning into quite the little artiste, aren't you? Flim Flam Moran.
Thanks. What's going on?
Well, it's just thinking about your tender nipples and I brought you the rest of the cream. You're gonna have to rub it in yourself this time.
That was really thoughtful. Thanks a lot.
Of course. So I was wondering if I could borrow our old... Got that thing?
I still got that.
Good.
What do you need that for? You got your camper down at the campground.
Oh, I was thinking of getting away. Maybe going down to the lake and having a,
Thinking of going away.
Yeah.
Down to the lake. I know what you're doing, Mr. Leahy. You're giving up.
Randy.
Well, guess what? I'm not giving you that berry-picking tent. The one that we spent so many nights in, picking blueberries and cranberries and...
Randy, I need it.
Don't let those... Excuse my language. Don't let those friggin' butchy frig bitches frig you over like this.
It's not that simple, Super Ray, man. Honest.
Yes, it is, Mr. Leahy. You know what? You're not the man you used to be. The man you used to be wouldn't stand for this bullshit. You need to grow a set.
Doesn't even look like a fucking lawyer's office. It looks like Norman Bates lives here.
Who the fuck's that?
Used to bang your mama. Who did? Norman Bates didn't bang anybody's mama.
Made with love and Papa Carlson's clean feet.
We have the Clooney's, the Careys, the Lettermans, and you this week, the Buseys, biggest choppers on the market. Any look you want, we can do. We pay cold, hard cash for your gold teeth and any other gold you want to get rid of. And a 15% discount for cash, cash, cash. I'm Sam Loscarino, the Denture King, and I'm reinventing the wheel with teeth.
Was that Flo? Las Carino?
Now get in here, you ugly piss shitters.
The Denture King is open 9 to 3 or 5, Monday to Friday, except for days when it's not.
Son of a cock!
What the fuck are you doing?
Fuck you, chair.
Sorry, it's an old chair.
Fucking asshole. These chairs are fucked, man.
Yeah, well, let's see what I can pick up later on. Some magic.
Ricky, just sit still.
It's just so leany.
I know.
Everybody okay? Now, do you want the good news first? Or do you want the kind of news that feels like a rhinoceros is fucking you up the poop chute, man?
Oh, Jesus.
Now, the good news is I just delayed the trial by 20, 30 days.
What now?
So what you just did there, that cost $1,000.
Mm-hmm. Fucking ridiculous, isn't it? When I don't make the rules. Now, the other news, that screeching banshee is gonna win this case 1,000%.
Wait, what the fuck is going on here? You spent the wedding money and we're still gonna lose?
Yeah.
I can't get the image of a rhinoceros getting behind me with this big meat log on my fucking head now.
Please. Listen, man, don't sit there and say you can't do anything. You always got a fucking angle.
All right, look. There is a chance we could win this dirty backstreet dumpster whore of a case. But I'd have to bring in another lawyer. Now I know the per fucking cheap, okay?
Can you guarantee that we win?
Well, he's your best shot against that filthy ditch pig.
So it looks like we just gotta come up with 3 or 4 grand. That shouldn't be too fucking tough, boys.
Oh, yeah, just pull 3 or 4 fucking grand out of the air, no problem.
And no fucking guarantee we're gonna win anyway.
They said this guy was the fucking best. What's our other option? To give up? Boys, all we gotta do is one simple little fucking job.
Oh, yeah. Here we fucking
What's
go.
the fucking job?
We're gonna rob the Denture King tonight. You know he's not fucking putting any money in the bank.
So we just walk in, rob fucking Captain Cave Sam, and all the problems are solved?
Yeah. You guys can fucking rob Captain Cave Sam if you want. I'm not. Did you forget what I told you? I'm fucking done.
Ricky, this is gonna be the easiest fucking job we've ever done. Sam's an idiot.
Yeah, right. Listen to me and listen to me. I'm fucking out. No more. And tonight's fucking pizza night. Look, I love my fucking family, boys. Do not ask me to fuck that up.
Pizza night.
Thing.
Let's get one with no meat.
Are you a vegetarian now? Pizza has fucking meat. That's what makes a pizza.
I'm allergic to green peppers.
That doesn't even make fucking sense.
It's true. Give them the shits.
Hey, what's up, little Mo? What's up, buddy? I need you for a sec, man. Something weird going on my trailer. You gotta check the pipes or something.
Pipes? What pipes? I don't really know much about pipes, man. Get Bowles to do. He's good at that shit.
He's busy. I know you can do this, man. You're smart at the shit. Come on, just take a minute.
I guess I know a little bit about pipes. All right, you guys figure it out. But I'm fucking pissed both. So which pipes are fucked? Is it a leak? What the fuck's going on? Better not be your shit pipe. I'm not working on that.
Nothing wrong with the pipes, man. I just had to talk to you for a minute. Look, just so you know, the last thing any of us would want to do is fuck over things between you and your family, okay?
Are you fucking kidding me right now? Just stop. I am not helping you guys break into caves. Fuck that.
We don't want you to do this job with us, man. We just need a drive. And Lucy's car because her car blends in.
The drive. Fuck you. That's still doing the job, isn't it?
No, it isn't, man. Look out for us. In and out in 5 minutes, man. You go pick up your pizza and come home, everybody's happy. You do nothing wrong, nothing illegal.
Hey, Ricky, driving motherfuckers around was illegal. I'd be in jail for life. You know what I'm saying? That's what's real.
And I'll be able to pay back that wedding money, just like I promised.
All right. I'll fucking drive you guys, but I am not coming in.
That's what your old man used to say. I'm not coming in.
Under a minute.
Nice work, Pops.
Yes.
Under a minute. That's what your mom used to say.
Just everything you say just says it's about your mother. Like it's not that clever. Really.
Leslie, Jim Leahy, how the hell are you? I'm fan-freaking-tastic.
Nice.
I'm back on my meds. Wonder feeling as good almost as when we were running Sunnyvale together. And you know, before the craziness. And you, Jim.
Yeah?
You look great. You look sober.
Oh, I never felt better in my life. You know why?
Got a beat, have you, Jim?
Absolutely.
Well, that's great. These are a little tricky for one person.
Yeah.
Will Randy be giving you a hand putting it up?
Oh, I highly doubt that.
Well, where are you setting up? I could come and help you out, catch up, talk about old times.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, but I'm trying to leave the past behind, if you know what I mean. All of it.
I understand. But if you change your mind, I'm here for you, and I'm stronger than ever.
Ricky, can you turn off the religious horse shit?
It's stuck on this fucking channel. I told you that.
Well, do we need to have it on?
It makes a lot of sense with some of the stuff they're saying.
Yeah, 'cause your dad brainwashed you.
What time is it?
It's like almost 5:30. It's a minute after 5:30.
There he is.
Man, he looks fucked.
Look at his head. didn't, Ricky. It's a fucking toupee or whatever they call it.
Let's go.
Here we go. No big deal. Just a little beanie. We done it many times. Nothing to worry about.
Let's do it.
Turn off the fucking camera. No, leave the fucking camera on. I want proof I wasn't in there with you guys. Tell me right now, not going with these guys. There's no better feeling doing a B&E, reaping off some dumb idiot. Hit off that? No? Anyway, I'm lucky Lucy has stayed with me this long. And I can't risk losing my family again. But right now, I'm doing nothing wrong. I'm just waiting for my pizzas to cook. Nothing illegal about that. And it's not a lie if you believe it's not happening. And I do.
I still can't believe we made this thing.
It's not a thing, silly.
God, I just love our family so much.
I know. I was so scared yesterday when I thought you were gonna go to jail. Got me thinking. Let's just do it. Make me your wife.
I'd love to, Trinity, but there's still so much planning to do.
Yeah, like a wedding. Doesn't take much. Come on.
Yeah, spontaneous weddings are pretty fucking romantic.
Okay, when?
I don't know, this weekend? Might as well.
What do you think?
Don't.
What good is that? I can't. There's nothing I can do. It's just a fucking guessing game.
Just keep guessing.
What would he put in? Cave? C-A-V-E? Deck. What about deck? D-I-C.
What makes a lie? For it to be a lie, someone would have to find out that it is a lie, so if they don't, then it's not really a lie. Kidding me? Jesus, fuck my ass. Shut off the fucking camera. What the fuck is taking so long?
It took us a while to find the fucking thing. It was hidden behind this, and he can't open it.
Fucking digital, Ricky. I can't hear the clickers inside.
Well, pry the fucking thing open.
We fucking tried, dog.
Shit's tighter than your mama.
Ray.
Boys, I need to pick up my fucking pizzas.
Well, what the fuck?
God is fucking me right now. Fuck sakes.
What are you gonna do? Oh, fuck,
Right
look
on,
out.
buddy.
Ray.
Fuck, you're here,
Ray.
man. Yeah, Ricky. Nice work, Ricky. Nice work. Thank fuck you're here, man.
I'm not here. This is not even fucking happening.
Ricky. Fuck. She's moving. No, look, she's bolted right to the studs.
Need a rope, don't you? Got a fucking rope in the car?
Get the fuck out of the way.
I want to marry you so bad, Trin. I'd do it tomorrow if I could. You know I love you more than everything on the planet, right?
So what's the holdup?
It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It's sort of about the romance. You okay?
Guys, the wedding money's all gone.
What?
Ricky and I had to lend it all to Julian to help keep the park.
All of it?
I'm so sorry.
Those fucking bastards. I'm going to fucking kill him.
Ricky is such a fucking loser.
Here, tie this to the back of the car.
I got you, man. I forget my knots, dog. I'm all panicked with mine.
Come on, man. You went to camp, man. You know how to do this.
Around the thing, dog. Bunny ears and that shit.
One more knot.
Should I do like a Bowman or some shit?
Nah, just tight, real tight.
Is that I gotta piece the fuck out, dog. Get over here, dog. Safe come flying.
Oh, shit.
Ricky, hang on a second, dog.
Oh, my fuck. You tied it to the fucking bumper?
You said tied to the back. That's what we did, dog.
Tied to the fucking frame underneath.
Well, you gotta be specific with a motherfucker. You just said tied to the back, dog. That's what we did.
Technically, that is the back of the car, though.
Dude, we'll just put it back on right quick. Just back up, dog.
Boys, you ripped the fucking... I'm gonna have
It's
to...
tied to the frame. Hurry up. Look at this shit. Lucy's gonna fucking lose her goddamn mind.
Can you back up a bit, dog? We don't have enough rope to reach the frame. You know what I'm saying? Ray, that motherfucker cranky today.
Goddamn stupid fucking piece of shit, Kent. What the fuck?
Barb? Hey, Barb!
Oh, hey, Jim.
Hi. I feel awful bad that you guys don't have a place to live, so I bought you a tent. And all you need to do is set it up.
Oh, that is so sweet of you, but you gotta be joking. The three of us are not sleeping in a tent. You can.
Come on, Barb. This is crazy. Look, you take the tent or leave, because I can't live like this for another fucking week.
A week?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Julian has got the court case postponed for 30 days. We're here for another month.
Absolutely not, Barb.
What did you say? Did you just say we could swant?
Yep.
Yeah, I thought so.
Now get the fuck in your tent before I glue your lips shut with my slow-drying man cement.
What a dick.
Slow down, dog.
You finally got it out. Fuck, let's go.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
That shit worked like a map, huh?
Shit.
Come on, T, grab it in, dog. Blah, blah. Ray, this motherfucker heavy too, ain't it? Ricky, that worked, dog.
Let's go. Get in the fucking truck. Let's go.
We put it down and need a rest, dog.
What the fuck are you doing? Come on.
Taking a rest, dog. Shit's fucking heavy,
Gotta
dog.
get the fuck out of here.
Oh, my Christ, the shit's heavy, dog.
Get in. Hurry up.
You think she'll be that mad, Ricky?
Does a bear shit on the Pope?
The Pope?
Good luck, buddy.
Maybe Ricky will be able to talk his way out of it.
Not this time, man. She's gonna fucking snap. Hide behind the trailer, boys. Don't let them see us.
Trent, stay in the house. Ricky, where the fuck have you been? You've been gone for almost 2 hours.
Oh, what's in the trunk? Lucy, look what he did to your fucking car. The bumper's off.
Oh, Ricky, fuck.
No, it's bad. It's a fucking long story.
Holy shit, there's a safe in here, too.
What did you do?
Calm down, all right? I went to pick up the pizzas, and this fucking idiot backs into me, and he's got no insurance, no money, so he gave me the safe he had with him as payment.
That's your best story, huh? You're such a fucking idiot, Ricky.
Why don't you blow me, Sarah?
Why don't you fucking blow yourself? Because Lucy's not going to anymore.
You couldn't leave it for just one day. You could just let it go. So some guy backed into you, and he gave you a safe space.
It's crazy, but that's pretty much what the fuck.
You are so full of shit. I'm so sick of your lies.
You want the truth, Lucy? The truth is, I don't even know what the fuck happened. How about that?
That's bullshit, and I know what happened to Trin's wedding money. You are such a selfish piece of shit.
Lucy, what was done because I love this family.
Enough, enough, all right? Tonight you're sleeping in the car, in your fucking car.
Fuck my tits with
Inappropriate timing. Jesus, boys, he's eating ground pizza.
God, piece of shit. Fucking shit, Ted. Nothing. So I had to increase the allowable level, but I'm still not feeling it. It's just... Oh. Let's save a little bit for later. Home sweet home. Actually, it's not all that bad, no?
So in the event there's only gold and silver in that thing, will this fancy-ass lawyer take that as payment or what?
Silver not so much, but gold would be very, very nicely for him.
That's it, boys. There, she just let go. She let go.
Oh my fuck, it's empty?
Just when it's not empty.
Was that gold?
No, it looks like somebody.
Well, that's a Cobra Strike to all of our erect wangs.
Them shits must be Sam's old sluts that he jarred up right quick after he got them shiny joints up in his mouth, huh?
Yeah, but why the fuck would he leave his old teeth in his safe with nothing else in the motherfucker?
That is fucked. Teeth.
This is cocked beyond fuck, boys. I might have just lost my family over Sam's shit-covered cave teeth. Thanks, Julian. Thanks, man.
Fuck!
How's it going, Randy? We got a tip about a B&E that led us here. You know anything about that, cutie pie?
No, I don't.
Well, then we're gonna have to go into the park and take a look around. Unless, of course, you want to come for a drive and do a little downhill skiing.
Frig off. Nice try. I'm not going downhill skiing with you guys. I'm not a tenderized, marinated piece of bone.
Fine, Randy. Too bad. Downhill skiing would have been fun. Instead, we'll go see if we can throw a few of your low-life friends in jail.
Fuck, I hate losing.
Yeah, me too. But I might have another option to help.
Yeah, what's that?
Got any acting?
Acting?
Yeah.
I'm no fucking Clint Eastwood, man. I've never acted before.
No, I just mean pretending. You see, I got a client. He's going bankrupt, and he's trying to pull an insurance scam. All right, there's no risk. It's a big score. A truck full of easy-to-pawn items.
Sounds too good to be true.
No, seriously. Truck driver's in on it, too. He's taking a cut. Look, you pull him over, you make it look like you're robbing him, you take off with the truck with everything in it. It's easy peasy.
Evening, guys. Can I help you with something?
You sure can, Julian. We'd like to come in and take a look around. You don't have a problem with that now, do you? Big dog?
But I assume you have a warrant, huh?
Look who's here. Super lawyer. Why you haven't been disbarred yet, I'll never know. We don't need a warrant to walk through a public establishment. Even you should know that.
Well, that would be true if said establishment, fortunately for Julian, it's closed tonight. So in order for you to go in and have a look around before it opens in the morning, you do, in fact, need a search warrant. Huh?
This is the way you want to play it, Julian?
He's got nothing to hide. He's just tired and wants to go to bed.
Know anything about the break-in down at the Denture King?
I've been here all day, man.
Pretty funny, actually, because whoever took the safe didn't realize it was empty. I bet the look on it.
You mean the look on the person that took the safe's face? Yeah. I wasn't there, Ted.
Sorry, Julian. I couldn't keep them out.
Why the fuck not?
Because I'm not getting paid enough to do the things that they want me to do to them to keep them out. Do what things to them? Look, if you don't like the job I'm doing, find someone else. When am I even gonna get friggin' paid?
Soon, Randy.
Soon.
Yeah, soon.
A nice, accurate answer to
Christ. This whole fucking park was private property, man. Then the cops would need a warrant to even get through the front fucking gate. Is that possible?
You're goddamn right it is. I mean, there'd be some zoning issues, another grand, but this whole place would be private fucking property.
Then we could basically do whatever the fuck we wanted in here.
Yes, you could, my friend.
All right, let's do it. Pull the trigger on that insurance scam, too. I'll tell the boys about it.
All right, you got it. But that greasy bastard wants $1,000. My hands are tied. You understand.
All right, let's just do it.
All right.
All right, you owe me $10 for that drink, too.
Yeah, sure.
Setting for him. You want him growing up thinking that stealing and going to jail is just a normal part of life. Exactly. Bubbles nodded vigorously, his eyes sparkling with renewed enthusiasm. Exactly, Ricky. Takes time and it takes effort and it takes patience. Things that we have never been very good at. But we can learn. I finally got myself learned, Ricky. Remember you said that earlier. You finally got yourself learned. Well, now it is time to put that learning into practice. Legitimate practice. No more stealing crops, no more shady deals, no more engagement horses. Just honest work. We can build something real together. Something that nobody can take away from us. Julian took another sip of his beer, his mind already beginning to shift gears, turning its formidable analytical power away from criminal enterprise and toward the possibilities of legitimate business. You know, Bubbles, he said thoughtfully, his voice regaining a fraction of its usual confidence. That green bastard beer of yours. It is really good. It has got a unique flavor profile and the branding is strong. With the right marketing and distribution strategy, we could expand beyond the park. We could get it into local pubs, maybe even the provincial liquor stores. He looked at Bubbles, his eyes narrowing as he calculated the potential margins. But we would need to scale up production, build a proper facility, get the necessary permits and licenses. It would be a lot of work, a massive amount of work. Bubbles beamed, thrilled that Julian was finally applying his business acumen to something legal. It is a lot of work, Julian, he agreed enthusiastically. But it is good work, honest work. And if we pool our resources and our skills, we could make it happen. I know the brewing process inside and out. You know how to manage the numbers and handle the negotiations. And Ricky, he paused, turning to look at Ricky, considering his unique set of talents. Ricky, you are the hardest worker I know when you actually care about what you are doing. You built that incredible deck by yourself. You grew an entire crop of highly sophisticated plants using nothing but sheer willpower and some stolen gardening supplies. Imagine what you could do if you channeled that energy into something legal. You could manage the logistics, oversee the distribution, build the infrastructure we need to expand. Ricky looked up, a spark of hope reigniting in his eyes, cutting through the heavy gloom of the evening. You really think so? He asked, his voice tentative, fearful of believing in a new dream so soon after his last one had been shattered. I know so, Ricky Bubbles stated firmly. I know so. We just have to commit to it. No turning back. No more shortcuts. Julian held out his hand, palm flat, a silent offer of partnership. Are we doing this, boys? He asked, his gaze steady and unwavering. Are we finally growing up? Ricky looked at Julian's hand, then at Bubbles' hopeful face. He slowly reached out and placed his uninjured hand on top of Julian's. We are doing this, he said, his voice gaining strength. We are growing up. No more shortcuts. Bubbles let out a joyful laugh and placed his hand on top of theirs, sealing the pact. We are doing this, he declared. The Green Bastard Brewery, a legitimate enterprise. By the boys for the boys. They stood there for a long moment, their hands joined in the center, a silent vow binding them together tighter than any criminal conspiracy ever could. The road ahead would be difficult, paved with bureaucratic hurdles, financial struggles, and the constant temptation to slip back into their old ways. But as Ricky looked at his two best friends, feeling the solid warmth of their hands against his, he knew that this time was different. This was not a scheme born of desperation or greed. This was a choice born of love, respect, and a profound desire to finally build a life worth living. He pulled his hand back, unscrewed the cap of the whiskey bottle, and took a long, slow sip, the liquor burning a warm, cleansing path down his throat. Here is to thinking liquor, he said, holding the bottle up in a toast. And here is to getting ourselves learned. For real this time. Julian and Bubbles clinked their beer bottles against Ricky's whiskey, the gentle chime of glass ringing out clear and true in the quiet night air. As they stood there, savoring the moment of profound clarity, the heavy, oppressive weight of their past mistakes seemed to lift, dissolving into the maritime breeze, leaving behind only the bright, unwritten promise of tomorrow. The night sky was a vast blanket of deep blue dotted with a million shining stars. A gentle breeze swept through the quiet park, rustling the leaves of the ancient oak trees and bringing with it the faint scent of pine and fresh earth. It was a momentous evening, one that held the promise of a brighter tomorrow. Standing alone near the edge of the dense woods, a man named Ricky took a deep breath of the crisp air. He looked out over the familiar landscape of his home, feeling a profound sense of accomplishment welling up inside his chest. For the first time in his life, he had built something entirely on his own, something beautiful and green and full of life. He had spent the entire summer cultivating a secret garden, a project born from a deep desire to prove his worth to the world and to himself. He thought about his two best friends, Julian and Bubbles. Their friendship was the most important thing in his life, but he knew that his past mistakes had often caused them unnecessary worry. He wanted to change that. He wanted to show them that he could be responsible, that he could create something valuable without causing any trouble. Ricky had poured his heart and soul into this agricultural endeavor. He had learned the intricate details of soil composition, the delicate balance of watering schedules, and the importance of natural sunlight. He had partnered with a legitimate botanical dispensary in the city of Halifax to provide them with his special herbal plants. The arrangement was built on trust and hard work, and the reward was a substantial sum of cash money that would finally allow him to step away from his chaotic past. He felt a wave of relief wash over him. He was finally done with the endless cycle of struggle. He had achieved his goal. He knew that Julian and Bubbles might feel a little left out when they discovered he had kept this massive project a secret from them. He had originally intended to involve them, but he wanted to prove he could succeed independently. To make amends for his secrecy, he formulated a plan to host a magnificent celebration. A grand party, he reasoned, was the perfect way to bring everyone together and share his joy. In his heart, he believed that a joyous gathering could mend any temporary hurt feelings. The time for the harvest arrived in the quiet hours just before the break of dawn. Ricky gathered his younger companions, Corey and Jacob, to assist him with the careful work. They walked softly past the edge of the tree line, their boots making barely a sound on the soft grass. Ricky instructed them in a hushed, earnest voice. He told them that there must be no idle chatter and no distractions. Their task was to carefully gather the mature plants as efficiently as possible and depart before the morning sun illuminated the sky. The young men agreed enthusiastically, their faces glowing with admiration for their mentor. They thanked Ricky for allowing them to be part of such a significant moment. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation and the sweet aroma of the ready harvest. Suddenly, a loud and unexpected noise shattered the peaceful silence. The sound echoed through the trees, startling the group. Panic set in. Corey and Jacob, driven by fear, assumed the worst and thought the authorities had arrived. Ricky tried to remain calm, realizing it was likely just a distant noise from a local hunter discharging a shotgun in the woods. He urged his friends to stand their ground and be brave, but the sudden fright had already unraveled their composure. In the ensuing confusion, a rival group of gatherers, operating under the cover of darkness, seized the opportunity. Before Ricky and his friends could reorganize, the strangers had swiftly cleared the garden, taking the fruits of his long labor with them. The loss was sudden and devastating. Ricky fell to his knees on the damp earth. He looked up at the fading stars, feeling the weight of a familiar disappointment pressing down on him. He wondered why the universe seemed to constantly place insurmountable obstacles in his path. It was a heartbreaking moment, yet deep down, a tiny spark of resilience remained, whispering that he must find a way to carry on. While Ricky faced his trials in the woods, another story of determination was unfolding in a different corner of the park. Bubbles, a man with a heart of gold and a mind full of innovative ideas, was experiencing a season of unprecedented success. He had recently finalized a wonderful business transaction, selling his famous homemade pizza sauce recipe to an enthusiastic entrepreneur from a distant town. Instead of squandering his newly acquired funds, Bubbles demanded a little bit of whiskey because I do feel bad for what happened to you today. That was messed up, but I think it is for the best. I really do. He handed Ricky a bottle, his expression turning incredibly serious. Boys, I have got to get something off my chest here that has been building. Bubbles said, his voice trembling with an uncharacteristic intensity. It has been building and I cannot take it anymore. Okay, listen. I will start off by saying I love you guys, okay? I always have and I always will. Love you too, buddy, Julian said softly, sensing the gravity of the moment. Yeah, me too, Ricky added, clutching the bottle of whiskey like a lifeline. What is up? Just shut up, Bubbles commanded, his voice surprisingly strong. Shut your big muscular lips and listen for once. I have got the floor. Now this might sting a bit, boys, but it needs to be said. Have you guys looked in the mirror lately? Have you really looked in the mirror, like went right up close and looked at yourself in the mirror? No, I have not, Ricky admitted, looking down at his worn boots. I do not like getting too close to the mirror. They get scared of me and I feel like they are going to suck me right in or something. Well, you should do it, Ricky, because it is time to grow up, Bubbles continued, his words pouring out like a river breaking a dam. Especially you two, because we are getting old, boys. We are getting old and we are getting out of shape and we are getting bad looking. We are getting bad looking and you are not getting any younger, but what are you doing? You are breaking the law like you are 17 years old. Nothing is changing. And who is benefiting from it? Nobody. I almost benefited today, Ricky protested weakly. I was almost retired. You shut up too, Ricky, because you are not retired, Bubbles countered sharply, his voice filled with a desperate need to make them understand. That is the point I am trying to make. You are not retired and you should not have been lying to us about growing crops. That is nonsense. Yeah, that was nonsense, Ricky conceded, his shoulders slumping. I know. I am sorry, it was dumb. I should have told you guys. You should have told us, Bubbles agreed, nodding fiercely. This is a wake-up call right now, boys. Telling you, because I am already gone legitimate. I have got legitimate things going on. And you guys, I know how you operate. You got no money now. You are broke and I know what that turns into. Next thing you know, you are going to be in jail forever. You are going to wind up in there for the rest of your lives. In there all alone, dying, looking terrible. And when you are in there taking your last breaths, Ricky, sucking in your last breath on earth, there is going to be no family there and no Bubbles to hold your hand. Come on, Bubbles, Ricky whispered, his eyes shining with unshed tears. Do not come on me, Bubbles insisted, his own voice thick with emotion. It is true. Like, if you guys love me as much as you say you do, then breaking the law is over for good. That is it. That is all I got to say. I want you guys to think about that tonight. He looked at them one last time, his heart heavy but his conscience clear, hoping his words had finally pierced through their armor of denial. Here, Ricky, you can finish that off, Bubbles said, pointing to the whiskey bottle. Consider it thinking liquor. You got any ice or mixers? Julian asked quietly, breaking the heavy silence. Thanks, buddy, Ricky murmured, clutching the bottle tightly. I hope you get back, Julian. Thanks. As the night deepened over Sunnyvale, casting long, contemplative shadows across the trailers and the scattered debris of the party, a profound stillness settled over the three friends. The crickets chirped their steady, timeless rhythm in the nearby woods, the same woods where Ricky had lost his crop and his illusions earlier that day. The air had cooled significantly, carrying with it the scent of pine needles and distant ocean spray, a sharp contrast to the stale smell of spilled beer and broken dreams that lingered on Ricky's wooden deck. They stood there in the quiet darkness, three men bound by decades of shared history, mistakes, and an unshakable, albeit deeply flawed, brotherhood. Bubbles adjusted his thick glasses, the street lamp above catching the reflection of the glass, obscuring his eyes but amplifying the earnestness etched into the deep lines of his face. His chest rose and fell with a heavy sigh, the weight of his own profound realization settling firmly onto his shoulders. He had spoken his truth, laid bare his deepest fears for the people he cared about most, and now all he could do was wait and see if the seeds of change he had planted would take root in the stubborn soil of their habits. The Green Bastard Brewery, his humble testament to honest labor, sat silently in his shed, a beacon of what was possible if they simply chose to walk a different path. It was not glamorous, and it certainly was not easy, but it was real, and it was theirs to own without the constant looming shadow of police sirens and prison walls. Julian took a slow, deliberate sip from the bottle of beer Bubbles had given him, the condensation cool against his palm. His mind, usually a whirlwind of angles, schemes, and quick profit calculations, felt strangely quiet. Bubbles' words had struck a chord deep within him, vibrating with a painful, undeniable resonance. Have you looked in the mirror lately? The question echoed in his mind, bouncing off the walls of his pride. He thought about the endless cycle of his life, the momentary highs of a successful hustle followed by the inevitable, crushing lows of failure, betrayal, and incarceration. He thought about the $50,000 Ted had thrown in the dirty money that Mr. Leahy and Randy were currently plotting to gamble away. Was that the legacy he wanted to leave? Was that the sum total of Julian, the man with the plan? He looked down at the gravel beneath his boots, a sudden, unfamiliar wave of exhaustion washing over him. He was tired. He was so incredibly tired of always looking over his shoulder, always running, always trying to stay one step ahead of a game that was rigged against him from the very beginning. Ricky, meanwhile, remained frozen, the bottle of thinking liquor clasped tightly in his uninjured hand. His arm throbbed a steady, rhythmic pain that served as a physical reminder of the day's spectacular collapse. From the shotgun blast in the forest to the disastrous presentation of the engagement horse, to the humiliating public end of his relationship with Susan, it had been a relentless cascade of misfortune. But amidst the wreckage of his pride and his plans, Bubbles' speech stood out like a solitary lighthouse in a raging storm. Sucking in your last breath on earth, there is going to be no family there and no Bubbles to hold your hand. The image struck Ricky with the force of a physical blow. For all his bluster, his anger, and his ridiculous theories about how the world worked, the core of Ricky's existence was the people he loved. Trinity, Jacob, Little Mo, Sarah, Julian, and especially Bubbles. The thought of losing them, of ending up alone in a cold, sterile prison cell, stripped of everything that made his chaotic life worth living, terrified him more than any shotgun, more than any police officer, more than any angry ex-girlfriend. "I hear you, Bubbles." Ricky finally broke the silence, his voice barely a whisper, carrying a raw, vulnerable honesty that was exceedingly rare for him. "I really do hear you, buddy." He slowly unscrewed the cap of the whiskey bottle, but instead of raising it to his lips, he held it out, offering it to the empty air in a quiet gesture of surrender. Today was a disaster, he admitted, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. From the woods to the horse to Susan. It was all a complete and total disaster. And you are right. I am not retired. I am just a guy who got his crop stolen and his heart broken all in the same 24 hours. He let out a dry, humorless chuckle, shaking his head at the absurdity of his own existence. Julian stepped closer, his large frame casting a protective shadow over Ricky. "It happens to the best of us, Rick," he said, his tone surprisingly gentle, stripped of its usual commanding edge. "Sometimes the plan falls apart. Sometimes the angle does not play out. But Bubbles is right. We cannot keep doing this. We cannot keep throwing ourselves against the wall hoping it will break before we do." Julian looked over at Bubbles, a silent understanding passing between them, a shared acknowledgement that an era was coming to an end. "I am tired of the hustle," Julian confessed, the admission costing him a significant amount of pride. "I am tired of being broke, and I am tired of looking for the easy way out when the easy way always ends up costing us everything." Bubbles smiled, a small, genuine expression of relief blooming on his face. "That is all I wanted to hear, boys," he said, his voice softening, his shoulders dropping as the tension drained from his body. "That is all I wanted. We are a family. We might be a messed up, complicated, highly dysfunctional family, but we are a family. And families stick together. But they also have to grow together. We cannot stay stuck in the same place making the same mistakes forever. We have to be better. For ourselves and for the people who depend on us." He pointed a finger toward Ricky's trailer, where Trinity and Jacob were presumably sleeping. "You have got a grandson, Ricky. Little Mo. What kind of example are you?" Ori squeaked, pulling desperately on the lead rope. "Nice one, let us go, dude. Watch out. Watch out, dude. He is a beautiful horse, but I mean," Ricky Bubbles sighed. "Jesus Marfi." "You know what though, Bubbles," Ricky said, his expression turning serious. "Like, I really do think that I love her enough. And you know what they say, good hard, heavy physical intimacy should cancel out hard, heavy arguing and fighting, right?" "Ricky, who says that?" Bubbles asked, completely bewildered. "Who says that?" "Okay, you know what?" Ricky conceded, slightly deflated. "Maybe a horse was a bit much as a gift, whatever. I just wanted to show my future wife how much I loved her, so I wanted it to be big. But I guess the real big news here is the engagement, right? I guess Bubbles admitted reluctantly. I guess it is Ricky. Congratulations. I do not know. I just want you to be happy, but that is fine. Yeah, me too, buddy, Julian added, though he still looked skeptical. Well, here she is now, everyone, Ricky announced, turning back to the crowd as a car pulled up to the edge of the yard. Thanks again for coming. Susan stepped out of the car, but instead of the joyful bride to be Ricky had expected, she looked like a walking hurricane of absolute fury. Her eyes locked onto Ricky with a terrifying intensity. Where is he? She shrieked, her voice cutting through the festive music like a jagged blade. Oh, there he is. There is the liar. You dirty, low-down, lying bastard prick. You monster. Where did you catch it, huh? From one of these trashy trailer women. The crowd instantly fell silent, the cheerful atmosphere evaporating into thin air. Well, who are you calling a trailer woman? Sarah yelled, stepping out from the crowd, her fists clenched. Do you want to go to a funeral or what? Just calm down, please, Ricky pleaded, holding his hands up defensively. What are you talking about? Catch what? Catch what? Catch what? Chlamydia is catch what? Susan screamed, marching right up to him. I am kicked out of my house because of you. You gave me an infection, you piece of garbage, you cheating, rotten, infused magnet. We are done. Susan, hold on here, Ricky yelled, his own temper flaring. You listen to me right now. I did not sleep with anybody else. Why would I? I love being with you. Oh, Susan scoffed loudly. And you are living with someone. What, are you married? No, not exactly, but 16 years, Ricky, Sarah shouted from the crowd, adding to the chaos. What, Susan? Ricky yelled, turning back to her, his face a mask of betrayal. I thought we loved each other, or some nonsense here. I was actually going to ask you to marry me today. That is why everyone is here. Marry you? Susan laughed bitterly. No, I am marrying you. Look at you. We were having a dumb physical relationship. It was low down, good, dirty sex, and then you ruined it all and ruined my life, you dirty woman. All right, that is enough, Sarah yelled, charging forward. You do not have to hit Ricky. Oh yes, Susan challenged, turning to face her. You have an infection. All right, so was it you? Sarah demanded, turning to Ricky. Yeah, it was me, you stupid woman, Susan yelled. You are the one who cheated. You are the one who cheated. I did not sleep with someone else, Ricky roared, desperately trying to defend himself. So it is impossible that I gave it to you. You must have been with someone else. Oh, classic Rick, Susan sneered, her face inches from his. Turn around on me like you always do. You know what? You are so messed up. You are stupid. You are overweight. You are dressed like an idiot. You want to know why, Ricky? 'Cause you are a loser. The words hung in the heavy night air, a brutal public dismantling of Ricky's fragile ego. Susan turned on her heel and stormed back to her car, leaving Ricky standing amidst the ruins of his grand romantic gesture. Ricky, just let her go, buddy, Bubbles said softly, stepping forward and placing a comforting hand on his friend's arm. It is for the best, buddy. You suck it, Susan yelled out the window as she sped away. Better off without her, Julian agreed, walking over. You all right? Yeah, I am fine, Ricky muttered, staring blankly at the ground. You all right? Julian asked again, patting his shoulder. Let us smoke something. Smoke something. Get drunk. Come on, man. Ricky. No, I am good, Ricky said, quietly turning away from the crowd. Piece of garbage, Susan's voice echoed in his memory. Jesus, she is wild, Julian commented, shaking his head. Oh, she is great, Ricky replied sarcastically, a hollow emptiness settling in his chest. Oh, you darn it, he yelled, suddenly kicking a plastic lawn chair across the grass. I will just bend over again and you can decide what you want to show me this time. Let us get the party going again. Everybody is hot with somebody kicking their rear end. In the quiet sanctuary of their trailer, Mr. Leahy was pouring 2 very generous glasses of liquor, a serene smile on his face. And what do you think, my sweet little goddess of liquor? He murmured, addressing his glass with profound reverence. You know, you have no idea how much I missed you. He took a long sip, closing his eyes in sheer ecstasy. What is that? I totally agree. Randy watched him from the sofa, a look of deep concern etching lines onto his forehead. Watch your step, Mr. Leahy, he warned gently. You should never have accepted those terms. Giving up half of our wages is way more than 25 grand. It is ridiculous. Mr. Leahy opened his eyes, a glint of absolute certainty shining within them. You just have not seen it, my beautiful Randy, he said softly, walking over and handing Randy the second glass. Thank you, man, Randy said, accepting the drink. Sit down, Mr. Leahy instructed, gently pushing Randy back onto the cushions. Look, me and the liquor, we got it all figured out, buddy, Mr. Leahy explained, leaning in close, his breath smelling heavily of rye. Going to take a long time for Julian to rack up $25,000 from our wages, right? So meanwhile, we can take the 25 that we were going to give that beautiful bastard and we can double or triple it. We just treat it like play money. Randy stared at him, trying to comprehend the sheer audacity of the plan. What are you talking about? He asked, his voice trembling slightly. How would we double or triple it? Horse track, baby, Mr. Leahy smiled, a wide, confident grin. We just sit back and we let the liquor choose our horses. They got a great canteen at the track. Haven't changed the grease in years. Randy looked down at his glass, realizing that their path to redemption had just taken a very dangerous detour. Outside, the party had slowly withered away, leaving only a scattered landscape of empty bottles and lingering disappointment. Bubbles sat alone on the tailgate of his go-kart, looking out at the quiet park. Well, as messed up as today was, I actually did not do too bad, he thought to himself, finding a small sliver of positivity. I am surprised. Just means I have got to sell more beer tomorrow, I guess. That is not too bad. Julian approached, his heavy footsteps crunching on the gravel. Hey buddy, Julian said, his voice sounding unusually weary. Listen, man, can I borrow a few beer off you? I have got Skylar coming over. She does not drink rum. She wants beer. So my Skylar is my problem now, Bubbles asked, raising an eyebrow. That is a nice wholesome name too, Julian. Where did you meet her? At the church rally. Julian sighed, running a hand through his hair. You got any beer for me or what, he asked, ignoring the sarcasm. Obviously I have beer, Bubbles replied, reaching into the cooler. All right, thank you, Julian said, grabbing a few bottles. But the stuff is not free to make, you know, Bubbles reminded him, his entrepreneurial spirit refusing to be entirely suppressed. It still costs money. There is 6. Julian rolled his eyes. Chill out, he muttered. I will pay you back. Chill out, Bubbles repeated, his frustration beginning to bubble to the surface. Well, how long do you plan on living like this? It is just a few beer, man, Julian defended himself. Oh yeah, it is a few beer, and then it is this, Bubbles countered, gesturing broadly to their surroundings. Ricky emerged from the shadows of his deck, looking defeated and entirely broken. Hey boys, he mumbled, shuffling over to them. I ran out of whiskey. Any chance you guys could lend me $20 for some booze? I need to get out of my head, and I am only about a quarter of the way there right now. Julian looked at Ricky, then at the few beers in his own hand. Sorry, buddy, Julian said quietly. I got nothing, and I would get drunk with you tonight, but I have got to check him over, so. That is cool, Ricky nodded, looking at the ground. I kinda wanna be by myself right now anyway. Bubbles, can you help me out, please? Bubbles looked at his 2 best friends in the entire world. 2 men he had loved like brothers since they were children playing in the dirt. He saw the toll the years of schemes, jail time, and constant failure had taken on them. He saw Julian's desperation masquerading as confidence, and Ricky's profound sadness hidden beneath a layer of reckless anger. Jesus Christ, Bubbles sighed heavily, a deep well of emotion rising within his chest. Sweaty balls. You guys are messed up. Both of you. Here, look out, Ricky. Look out. Here. I will give you a rating. What do you want, Ted? Mr. Leahy demanded, standing a little taller. We are free men now. Ted smirked, leaning casually against the hood of his car. Rumor has it that you are going to try and make things difficult for me, he said, his voice dangerously calm. Well, the truth will set you free, Ted, Mr. Leahy countered bravely. And I am going to bet you will not, Ted replied, smoothly reaching into his jacket. But I am going to bet you $50,000. He pulled out a thick manila envelope and tossed it onto the dusty ground at their feet. That is for you screw-ups. Some shut the hell up money. Mr. Leahy and Randy stared at the envelope, their minds racing. That $400,000 we busted you guys with was supposed to go to the Crown Attorney under the Proceeds of Crime Act, Ted explained casually. and it would have been locked up in an evidence room forever. That did not make sense to me. Now I am not a foolish man. Our department needed computers and new forensics equipment and a new cruiser. And let us just say I made sure that that money stayed with the police station. So that just leaves you two individuals with those loose ends. Ted stepped closer, his shadow falling over them. So are we good here? He asked, his tone turning menacing. Or am I going to have to fake some charges and keep you two in here a little longer? Mr. Leahy looked at the envelope, then at Randy, and finally back at Ted. Thanks a lot, Ted, he said, carefully picking up the money. We are more than good, right, Randy? Right, Randy agreed, swallowing hard. You understand that this is hush money, Ted reiterated, staring them down. So not a word or I am going to destroy your lives. He got back into his cruiser and sped away, leaving them alone with a small fortune and a massive secret. Back at the trailer park, Ricky was trying to salvage the day by focusing on his construction project. He led Corey and Jacob to the side of his trailer, pointing proudly at a sprawling, multi-leveled wooden deck that looked like it had been designed by a madman with a nail gun. Look at this thing, he boasted, sweeping his arm across the structure. I built this by myself. Like, check it out. Got a wicked kitchen set up. I got my bedroom here. Nice flat-screen television. Like, get in and check that out. It is amazing. He walked them through the maze of wooden planks and mismatched furniture. All right, come back here. Got my downstairs bathroom here. Got a bit of a cooler in the trunk there. And this is wicked. I built this for little Mo for when he wants to sleep over. He loves it. He ushered them up a rickety set of stairs to the highest point of the deck. All right, check this upstairs out. Ricky continued his enthusiasm, completely unaffected by the morning's disaster. This is highly impressive. Look at this patio. Got a couple recliners here and a blaster and a television and a nice lamp. Made that myself. Little stool for Jacob because he does not need much. He is unique. And if you get too tired up here, got a nice urinal. You can relieve yourself right here like this, and it runs right down the hose into the downstairs bathroom. What do you think? Like I am living like a king. Corey looked around, genuinely impressed by the chaotic ingenuity. Dude, this deck is awesome, he said earnestly. I love it up here. It is so cool. Yeah, Ricky, it really is incredible, Jacob added, leaning carefully against a railing that wobbled slightly under his weight. Yeah, I know how great it is. Okay, Ricky replied, his ego thoroughly stroked. I built the thing. I know how awesome it is. But back to the big announcement. It has got to be something huge or I am going to come across looking like a fool. The three of them stood in silence for a moment, their brains working in overdrive to conjure an idea worthy of a grand party. Why do you not tell everyone you are dead? Corey suggested, his face entirely serious. That is big, man. Ricky stared at him, bewildered by the sheer lack of logic. Look, Corey, there is a problem with that. See, he explained patiently. I am not dead, right? See where I am going with this. Jacob snapped his fingers. What if you were running for president? He offered. There is nothing huger than that. Ricky rolled his eyes. That is brilliant, Jacob. Really believable. Then I am going to run for president of Canada. Okay, whatever it is, it has to be something huge, and you got to come in with something big. Corey reasoned, trying to get back on track. You mean like a dump truck or something? Jacob asked. Because that would be cool. Ricky rubbed his temples, feeling a headache coming on. Why did I even ask you two to help? He muttered. You are too confused. Oh, how about an animal? Corey suddenly exclaimed. Yeah, man, I need something exotic, Ricky agreed, catching on to the excitement. Like a snow tiger. You know what an animal might do? It, he mused, stroking his chin. But a snow tiger? Seriously, where am I going to get a snow tiger around here? It needs to be like an animal, something big, but something we could get locally. Jacob nodded understandingly. Got it, he said. Steak maker. Yeah. Ricky stared at him blankly. What is a steak maker? He asked. It means a cow, Jacob explained proudly. A lot of people are calling that these days. Who? Ricky demanded. Who calls them that? People that are confused in the head. That is who. Suddenly, inspiration struck Ricky like a bolt of lightning. Oh my goodness, I got it, he shouted, his eyes lighting up. You were close too. Something with 4 legs that eats grass and lives on a farm. Spider, Corey guessed helpfully. No, not a spider, Ricky corrected him, slightly annoyed. A spider has 10 legs. A horse. Think about it. A horse. It is beautiful. Corey looked at Ricky with absolute awe. Dude, where did you even come up with that? He asked. I do not know, Ricky smiled humbly. It just popped in my head. What if it was a gift for Susan? Jacob suggested, his architectural mind seeing the bigger picture. That would make the announcement even bigger. Dude, what if it was an engagement gift for Susan? Corey chimed in, his excitement building. Dude, that makes the announcement even bigger. But I am not engaged to Susan, you foolish guys, am I? Ricky pointed out the obvious flaw in the plan. Yeah, but if you tell people you are, then they will believe you, Corey reasoned, employing a uniquely flawless brand of park logic. And imagine if you came in on an engagement horse. Even better if you put a fake horn on that thing, then it is an engagement unicorn horn, Jacob added, elevating the concept to mythical proportions. Dude, that is awesome, Corey agreed. Ricky looked at them, a slow smile spreading across his face. You know what, boys, he said, his voice filled with resolution. It is perfect. I mean, not the unicorn part. That is completely ridiculous, Corey. But that would be a big announcement. An engagement horse. My goodness. Meanwhile, back at the park entrance, Mr. Leahy and Randy were walking along the dusty shoulder of the road, the envelope of money burning a hole in Mr. Leahy's jacket pocket. This changes everything, Mr. Leahy, Randy said, his voice filled with hope. Whoa, 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 not so fast, Mr. Leahy cautioned, holding up a hand. Randy, my friend, do not forget, when we go back to the park, Julian is going to try to ruin us. Randy frowned, remembering the dark cloud that hung over their return. Look, this money might be the answer to everything, Mr. Leahy continued, his mind working on a strategy. We could offer it to Julian. Maybe he would wipe the slate clean. Seriously, sir? Randy asked, surprised by the suggestion. Yeah, Mr. Leahy replied softly. Never forget, it is Julian's fault. Our wives are so freaked out. That is true, Randy nodded sadly. They did this to us, and they did not have to go to jail. We did. That is a very good point, my friend, Mr. Leahy said, patting Randy on the back. Well, what if we offered him half the money? Randy suggested. Look, we would still have enough money to live comfortably for a long, long time. What do you think, buddy? Mr. Leahy smiled, a genuine expression of affection crossing his worn features. You are right, he agreed. And then we would have peace. Right, Randy smiled back. And a nice day. But we can never tell anybody about the money, you promise? Mr. Leahy asked, holding out his pinky finger. I promise, Randy said, linking his finger with Leahy's. We would never be safe, Mr. Leahy noted gravely. That is a deal. We should stop at the restaurant. That is it. That is all we care about. That is whatever it is you do. Down at a local stable on the outskirts of town, Ricky, Corey, and Jacob were facing a significant logistical challenge. They stood behind a remarkably large, brown horse that seemed entirely disinterested in their grand plans. You idiots ready? Ricky asked, adjusting his grip on a makeshift lead rope. Okay, go talk, go talk. Sorry, dude. Oh yeah, this thing right here, look at the paint job on this thing's fur, he admired, running a hand along its flank. It is beautiful. It is awesome. All right, let us get out of here. He gave the rope a firm tug, but the horse remained perfectly still, a massive statue of equine stubbornness. It is not moving, dude, Corey pointed out the obvious. Well, make it move, Ricky ordered. How do we make it move? Jacob asked, looking at the watch television business shows too. I know all these terms you are using. Julian dropped the facade, his shoulders slumping slightly. Bubbles, I am broke, man, he confessed, his voice losing its usual confident edge. I do not know what I am going to do. I am trying to go legitimate here, man, but I am finding it very, very hard. Julian ran a hand over his face, looking unusually vulnerable. I had movie night last night with a girl, he continued, looking down at the floor. She had to buy the popcorn. You know how embarrassing that is. Bubbles softened, his natural empathy overriding his frustration. Well, I told you, he said gently. You should not be going to the movies. It is a rip-off. Bubbles, I was watching a movie in my trailer, Julian corrected him. I could not afford microwave popcorn. Like, this is bad, man. Bubbles stared at him, realizing the true extent of his friend's financial despair. "Oh my goodness," he murmured. "You are being ridiculous." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small wad of bills. "Here, just take that. That is pathetic." Julian hesitated, his pride warring with his necessity. "I do not want your charity," he muttered. "Well, you need my charity," obviously Bubbles stated matter-of-factly. "You cannot afford popcorn." "You got another one of these?" Julian asked, quietly accepting the money. "No, I got that one," Bubbles replied firmly. "And you should appreciate it. You got a payday, man." Meanwhile, Ricky was back at his trailer, nursing a painfully obvious injury on his arm while trying to maintain his composure. "I cannot get this cat to stop bleeding," he complained, wrapping a stained towel around his forearm. "It is driving me nuts." Trinity and Sarah walked into the room, their expressions instantly turning from casual to deeply concerned. "Ricky, what in the world did you do to your arm?" Sarah asked, stepping forward to inspect the wound. "Well, that girlfriend of yours finally tried to do you in, did she?" Trinity asked, her voice laced with suspicion. Ricky sighed, realizing he needed to spin a very convincing story. "I have been dating this girl Susan now for 4 or 5 months. He began, attempting to deflect the attention from his physical state to his romantic life. "And it has been great. I actually forgot how much I missed having someone to share everything with. I mean, she is a bit hard to deal with at times, but the connection is the best I have ever had in my life. Like insane. Like it is so wild that I have got to get back in shape. I did not realize how out of shape I was until I started seeing her. Those things are not helping me. Come on." Sarah looked at him skeptically, not buying a single word of his distraction. "Part of me is really happy for Ricky," she thought to herself. "I think it is good, and I think he needs a girlfriend in his life. But to be honest, she scares me a little bit. And by a little bit I mean massively. And I do not like the way she controls his mind without him even realizing it." She focused back on the present situation. "Goodness, Ricky," she said, examining the makeshift bandage. "Look at this thing. That is a nasty cut. How did you do this?" Ricky took a deep breath, committing to his fabricated tale. "Well, me and Corey and Jacob were rollerblade skiing," he lied smoothly. "Actually, it was a good time. And we are flying along and all of a sudden, boom. Hit this patch of gravel and we go down. Like we went down hard. Jacob got the worst of it. It was terrible. They should not even be allowed to make gravel. Just not good for rollerblade skiing, let me tell you." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Yeah, rollerblade skating," she corrected him. "That is what you were doing. How and where would you guys even get rollerblades? First of all, obviously you stole them." No, we did not steal them," Ricky protested defensively. "We got them at the what is that new store. I read everything and the guy opened up. Great idea, buddy. The I read everything store." Just then, Jacob stumbled into the room, his shirt torn and his chest peppered with small, distinct red marks. "Dad," Trinity gasped, rushing over to her husband. "Why are there ball bearings in Jacob's chest? What happened last night?" Ricky panicked, his elaborate story crumbling before his eyes. What he stammered. "Those are not ball bearings. They are pieces of gravel from the rollerblade skiing accident we had." Sarah crossed her arms, her gaze piercing right through him. "Nice try," she said sternly. "Tell me the truth. Those are from a shotgun shell. You got shot again, Ricky. Do not lie to me." Ricky looked at the faces of his family, the weight of his secret finally proving too heavy to carry. The grand illusion of his legitimate progress dissolved into the harsh reality of his choices. "Okay, you know what?" he sighed deeply, his shoulders sagging. "Trin boys, I am sorry. I have been keeping a secret from you guys the whole summer. I was not upgrading my small engine repair certification, and I was not taking that crane operator's course I told you about. I was secretly growing herbs by myself in the woods down by Billy Bastard Bluff." "Dad," Trinity whispered, her voice filled with profound disappointment. "Unbelievable, Ricky." Sarah scolded, her face tight with anger. "You promised me." "I know," Ricky admitted, his voice thick with regret. "I am sorry. But I mean, it was amazing. I developed this new strain with the head grower from that medical place in Mountain. Incredible. Yeah. I had irrigation and 75 plants. It was beautiful. Some were 8 feet high. It was amazing." Sarah shook her head, entirely unimpressed by his agricultural achievements. Do not care, Ricky, she stated flatly. And I had a one-shot backdoor cash deal. He continued, desperately trying to make them understand the scale of his ambition. If it was going to happen today, I would have been done for life. Do not care, Sarah repeated, her voice rising. Do not care. Ricky hung his head. Anyway, last night it all went to pieces, he confessed. And yes, I did take Jacob and Corey with me. That is on me. But it was not supposed to go down like that. When we got there, they cut down the plants with these other guys and they stole all my plants and they shot at us. Sarah threw her hands up in exasperation. You are unbelievable, she cried out. How could you take my husband, your son-in-law, on a job like that? Well, he did want to go, Ricky mumbled defensively. He did not have to, Sarah shot back. Oh yeah, it is his fault. He wanted to go. What if he wanted to just shove a vegetable up your nose, Ricky? Would you let him? I do not even know what that is, Ricky replied, looking genuinely confused. Why would you do this, man? Sarah demanded. And without us, you guys could have been severely hurt. You know what, boys, Ricky said, his voice rising with a mixture of frustration and lingering hope. I was this close to being retired. This close. And I am going to find out who stole the crop and I am going to deal with him. No, you are not, Sarah commanded firmly. It is over. The crop is gone. Leave it. She pinched the bridge of her nose, a headache beginning to form. I should have known, she sighed heavily. I should have known that the big announcement was going to have something to do with illegal nonsense, Ricky, every time. Ricky looked up, a spark of his usual defiance returning to his eyes. No, that is not what the big huge announcement is going to be at all, he insisted. No, something totally different. Bigger than a tiny little drug deal. Sarah looked at him, searching for any sign of deception. Okay, she said cautiously. So there is still a big announcement, is there? And you still need all that beer? Yes, I do, Ricky confirmed, nodding vigorously. Big announcement coming down the pipe. It is huge. You are going to love it. He turned and shouted out the window toward the rest of the park. Big announcement still coming, everybody. Big announcement. Sarah shook her head slowly. It better be a massive deal, Ricky, she warned. It is going to be a major deal, he assured her. You are so full of nonsense, man, she muttered, walking away to tend to Jacob. Across town, the heavy iron gates of the regional correctional facility swung open with a loud, metallic groan. Mr. Leahy and Randy stood on the precipice of freedom, the bright morning sun warming their faces after months of artificial light. We are finally getting out today, Mr. Leahy said, his voice trembling with a mixture of relief and underlying anxiety. You know I hate this despicable place. Randy nodded in agreement, his hand resting reassuringly on his companion's shoulder. Randy and I got nothing now, Mr. Leahy continued, looking out at the empty road ahead. We will be starting over from scratch, but that is okay. Because at least we will not be in here. At least we will have each other. I love my Randy. My beautiful Randy. Randy smiled warmly. The time in here has helped Mr. Leahy and I get closer than we ever have been, he reflected silently. I do not think our love has ever been stronger. I just hope he is okay in the head when we get out. That is all. Their tender moment of reflection was abruptly shattered by the arrival of a sleek police cruiser. Officer Ted stepped out, his uniform pristine, his expression cold and calculate. He started by telling Ricky and Julian how much he truly loved them. He said that they were his family and he would always care for them. He then asked them to take a serious look at their lives. He gently pointed out that they were getting older and could no longer live like carefree teenagers. He reminded them that their constant schemes and shortcuts were not bringing them any real happiness or stability. Bubbles proudly shared that he had finally built a legitimate and honest business. He wanted his friends to experience that same sense of pride and security. He expressed his deep fear that if they continued down their current path, they would end up alone and unhappy. He pleaded with them to give up the illegal activities and focus on building a positive and lawful future. He painted a touching picture of them growing old together, supporting one another through life's challenges. Ricky and Julian listened in silence, deeply moved by Bubbles' sincere and emotional words. Ricky admitted that his recent plans had been foolish and apologized for misleading them. Julian nodded in agreement and realized that Bubbles was absolutely right. The three friends sat together under the starry night sky, feeling a renewed sense of brotherhood and a shared commitment to finally making positive changes in their lives. They knew the road ahead would require hard work, but for the first time in a very long time, they felt genuinely hopeful about the beautiful future they could build together. Ricky stood at the edge of the dense maritime forest, letting the cool evening air wash over his face. The rustling of the leaves above felt like a quiet applause from nature itself, a gentle validation of the hard work he had poured into his secret project over the past several months. He looked around at the towering trees and felt an unfamiliar but deeply comforting sense of pride. "This is a big, big night for me," he whispered into the shadows of the woods, his voice carrying a mixture of relief and anticipation. "I finally did something of my own, and it paid off." For years his life had been a chaotic whirlwind of shared schemes and collective failures, always tied to the well-meaning but often disastrous plans of his closest friends. "I mean, that is why things got messed up in the past," he reasoned out loud, "because of Julian and Bubbles." He took a deep breath, savoring the earthy scent of the forest floor. "I finally got myself learned," he continued, feeling a surge of independence. "You want something done right, you get it done by your own." Just a few paces behind him, Corey and Jacob were busy gathering their rudimentary harvesting tools, their faces painted with expressions of naive excitement. "Well, you helped a bit too," Ricky, Corey chimed in, hoping to share in the glory of the moment. "Yeah man, we totally had your back, dude," Jacob added, nodding enthusiastically. Ricky turned around, his brief moment of solitary reflection interrupted by their eagerness. "Would you be quiet?" he hissed gently but firmly. "Can you not see I am talking here?" He shook his head, though a faint smile played on his lips. Despite their clumsiness, he appreciated their loyalty. "Anyway, I got this incredible backdoor deal with one of the dispensaries in Halifax," Ricky explained, his eyes widening with the promise of a better future. "Cash money," he emphasized, the words tasting like freedom. "I am done. I finally did it." He leaned against a sturdy oak tree, a sudden wave of guilt washing over him as he thought of his two oldest friends back at the trailer park. "You know, Julian and Bubbles are probably going to be a little upset if they find out," he admitted, rubbing the back of his neck nervously. "I was going to do it first, but I am just going to throw a massive party and that will fix it. Parties fix everything." He firmly believed in the healing power of a good celebration, a fundamental truth that had guided him through many rough patches in his life. He turned his attention back to the task at hand, his tone shifting to one of focused leadership. "Okay, boys, just up here past this tree line. When we get there, no talking and no messing around. We are going to get the plants cut down as fast as we can and get out of here before that sun comes up, okay?" "Hells yeah," Corey agreed, tightly gripping a pair of garden shears. "Hey, do not worry, we got this," Ricky, Jacob reassured him, stumbling slightly over an exposed root. "Hey, thanks for bringing us to the harvest, man." They pushed through the final thicket of brush, the promise of a bountiful harvest driving them forward. But as they breached the clearing, a sudden bright light pierced the darkness, followed by the deafening roar of a loud noise that shattered the tranquility of the forest. "What is that?" Ricky shouted, his heart leaping into his throat. "Is that the cops?" Panic immediately seized the trio. Corey dropped to the ground, covering his head. "It is just a shotgun," Ricky yelled, realizing the situation was vastly different than he had expected. "It is just a shotgun, boys." Shadowy figures emerged from the tree line across the clearing, swiftly moving toward the carefully cultivated plants. "Get up, you cowards," Ricky yelled at Corey and Jacob, who were frozen in fear. "Come on. What are you doing? Get back here." He watched in absolute horror as the unknown intruders began tearing down the plants he had spent an entire summer nurturing. "Oh my goodness, no," Ricky cried out, running forward before stumbling over a rock. "No. Oh my goodness." He hit the ground hard, watching helplessly as his dreams of retirement and financial independence were carried away into the night. "I guess I should not be surprised," he muttered into the dirt, feeling a profound sense of defeat. "Hermit crabs. Why does the rest of the world keep pushing me down?" He lay there for a moment, the cool earth offering a small comfort against the sting of another failed endeavor. But deep down, a tiny spark of resilience remained. Miles away, In the quiet heart of the trailer park, Bubbles was experiencing a remarkably different kind of evening. The interior of his shed had been transformed into a meticulous and highly organized microbrewery. Stainless steel pots gleamed under the warm light of hanging bulbs, and the rich, complex aroma of malted barley and fresh hops filled the small space. Bubbles carefully adjusted a valve on a fermentation tank, a look of pure contentment on his face. "Oh, hey, fellas," he called out warmly as Julian and a companion walked through the open doorway. "What is going on? Check out the new setup. Check this out. I sold my pizza sauce recipe to that guy with the weird accent and reinvested every penny into making beer." He proudly gestured toward a neatly stacked pyramid of glass bottles. "Look at this," he beamed. "Started off slow, but I am making some decent money at it now. Look at that. Green Bastard India Pale Ale. Selling a ton of that to people in the park. Business is booming." He wiped his hands on an exceptionally clean apron, his eyes shining with the pride of an honest entrepreneur. "It is booming, but I am under some pressure today," he admitted, adjusting his thick glasses. "Ricky is making some kind of a major announcement. He is throwing a big party, so I have got to get this whole batch bottled up because he ordered 22/4. So it must be big news. I am pumped." Julian leaned against the wooden doorframe, a calculated look in his eyes as he surveyed the impressive operation. "Hey, Pops," he nodded to his companion before turning his full attention to Bubbles. "Hey, Julian," Bubbles replied cheerfully. "How is the beer business treating you, buddy?" Julian asked, his voice smooth and probing. "Oh, it is amazing," Bubbles answered without hesitation. "It is amazing. A lot less work than hauling shopping carts and all." Julian chuckled softly, a sound that usually preceded a business proposal. "Here, bend over and I will take your temperature," Pops joked, earning a polite laugh from Bubbles. "It is good that people are digging it, man," Julian continued, his mind clearly working on an angle. "Yes, sir," Bubbles agreed proudly. "You know what," Julian said, stepping further into the shed. "I have been thinking, why do you not make a beer with my name on it and your face?" Bubbles paused, considering the suggestion carefully. "Yeah, I might be able to," he replied thoughtfully. "Might be able to. Maybe make a protein beer," Julian added with a smirk. "Call it Muscle Man, get it?" Bubbles let out a genuine laugh. "That is a little funny," he admitted. Julian moved closer to the stacks of finished product. "So what are your sales like, man?" he asked, his tone turning serious. "You making a profit or what?" "My sales," Bubbles repeated, suddenly feeling a slight shift in the atmosphere. "Yeah, my sales are great, actually, Julian." "I see where this is going." "Where?" Julian asked, feigning innocence. "I see where this is going," Bubbles repeated, crossing his arms defensively. Bubbles is making money now, so Julian is all of a sudden very interested in the beer business. "Pops, do not be an unpleasant person," Julian said, waving off the accusation. "Let me guess," Bubbles countered, standing his ground. "What? You want to be part of it?" Julian held up his hands in a placating gesture. "Listen, I just want to make sure you are doing the right thing here and nobody is ripping you off, okay?" he insisted smoothly. "Do you know the valuation of your company? Do you know your profit margins on your sales each week?" Bubbles sighed, recognizing the familiar tactics. "Look, do not try to manipulate me, buddy," he said firmly. "Okay." I was volatile temper. He marveled at how exhausting it must be to live with such constant intense anger. Julian was relaxing near his trailer when Jim and Randy approached him cautiously. Julian immediately became hostile, blaming them for ruining his life and demanding total financial restitution. He declared he would seize half of their future wages for the rest of their lives. Jim and Randy remained incredibly calm. They politely asked Julian to hear them out and presented their generous cash offer to settle all past grievances. Julian was momentarily stunned by the sudden turn of events. The evening finally arrived and the entire trailer park gathered for Ricky's highly anticipated celebration. Bubbles stepped up to the microphone, greeting the cheering crowd and introducing the man of the hour. Ricky took the stage, beaming with pride. He thanked his friends and neighbors for their attendance and declared it a monumental occasion. On his cue, Corey and Jacob led the giant pink painted horse into the center of the crowd. The audience fell silent in absolute bewilderment. Bubbles stared at the animal, asking Ricky if this was a practical joke. Ricky proudly announced that the beautiful horse was a gift for the love of his life, Susan, and he was officially going to ask her to marry him. Julian pulled Ricky aside, panic clearly visible on his face. He frantically explained that buying a massive farm animal was a terrible way to propose. He urged Ricky to return the horse, immediately pointing out that Ricky and Susan had a volatile relationship built entirely on constant arguing. Ricky defended his decision earnestly. He believed that their intense passion balanced out their frequent disagreements. He admitted the horse might have been an overly extravagant gesture, but he truly wanted to show Susan the immense depth of his love. Julian softened slightly, wishing only for his friend's ultimate happiness. Just as Ricky prepared to pop the question, Susan arrived at the gathering. The atmosphere instantly shifted from festive to purely hostile. Susan stormed toward Ricky, screaming furious accusations. She publicly accused him of extreme infidelity and claimed he had transmitted a severe medical condition to her. She hurled relentless insults at him, declaring their relationship completely finished. Ricky stood his ground, thoroughly confused and deeply offended. He fiercely denied sleeping with anyone else, expressing his total devotion to her. He quickly deduced the logical conclusion to her accusation. If he had not been unfaithful, then Susan must have been the one who strayed. Susan's demeanor shifted to defensive anger. She resorted to attacking Ricky's character, mocking his weight, his intelligence, and his lack of financial stability. She labeled him a complete failure in life before turning her back and walking away forever. The crowd watched in stunned silence as Ricky absorbed the devastating blow. Julian stepped forward, placing a comforting hand on Ricky's shoulder. He gently told Ricky to let her go, assuring him that the bitter breakup was ultimately for the best. Julian suggested they share a drink to ease the pain, but Ricky quietly declined, needing a moment of solitude to process his shattered heart. Across the park, Jim and Randy were celebrating their successful negotiation with Julian. Jim proudly explained his brilliant strategy. Since giving Julian a portion of their wages would take a very long time, they could use their large reserve of cash as play money. He suggested they take their remaining $25,000 to the local horse racing track, where they could easily double or triple their fortune by trusting their instincts and enjoying the greasy canteen food. The night wore on, and the festive energy of the park slowly faded into quiet reflection. Julian approached Bubbles, asking to borrow a few bottles of beer for a guest he had invited over. Bubbles sighed, feeling the financial strain of constantly supporting his friends. He handed over the requested beverages, reminding Julian that producing the beer required real money. Julian became defensive, arguing that it was just a minor favor. Bubbles warned Julian about the slippery slope of borrowing and the dangers of living a life without clear direction. Later that night, Ricky, Julian, and Bubbles sat together under the dim light of the porch. Ricky asked to borrow a small amount of money to buy some liquor, hoping to numb the emotional pain of his public humiliation. Julian admitted he was entirely out of funds. Bubbles looked at his two oldest friends, feeling a heavy, profound sadness settling into his bones. Bubbles knew he could no longer remain silent. He asked for their undivided attention. He began his speech by expressing his deep, unconditional love for both of them. He then asked them a difficult question, demanding to know if they had truly looked at themselves in the mirror lately. He pointed out the harsh reality that they were all growing older. Their bodies were changing and their youthful energy was fading away. Yet, despite the passing of time, they were still living out the exact same destructive patterns they had followed since they were teenagers. Bubbles raised his voice, fueled by a mixture of anger and desperate affection. He told them that constantly breaking the law was yielding absolutely zero positive results. He dismantled Ricky's illusion of early retirement, reminding him that the secret garden was just another failed scheme built on lies and deception. Ricky lowered his head, humbly apologizing for his foolish mistakes. Bubbles pressed on, his voice softening into a heartbreaking plea. He warned them that their current path only led to one inevitable destination, which was spending the rest of their lives locked away in a cold, lonely prison cell. He painted a tragic picture of Ricky taking his final breath behind bars, completely separated from his loving family and his loyal friends. Bubbles wiped a stray tear from his cheek, declaring that if they truly loved him, they needed to abandon their criminal ways permanently. He urged them to look at the legitimate business he had built from scratch as proof that a better life was genuinely possible. He left them with those heavy thoughts, handing Ricky a small glass of liquor to aid in his reflection. As the cool night breeze swept through the quiet trailer park, Ricky and Julian sat in profound silence. The events of the chaotic day, the botched harvest, the broken engagement, and Bubbles' heartfelt plea swirled in their minds. For the first time in a very long time, they both realized that tomorrow needed to be the beginning of an entirely new chapter. The morning sun rose slowly, casting a warm golden light over the worn roofs of the trailers. Ricky woke up with a clear mind. The pain of yesterday's failures still lingered in his chest, but it was overshadowed by a new sense of quiet determination. He walked out onto his newly built wooden deck and leaned against the railing. He looked out over the neighborhood that had been his entire world for his whole life. He realized that Bubbles was absolutely right. The endless cycle of chasing illegal shortcuts had brought nothing but stress, danger, and heartbreak. It was time to grow up. Julian emerged from his own home holding a cup of hot coffee. He walked over to Ricky's deck and climbed the wooden stairs. The two men stood side by side, watching the community slowly wake up. Julian broke the silence, admitting that he had spent the entire night thinking about Bubbles' words. He confessed his deep embarrassment over his current financial state and his reliance on borrowing from his friends. He promised Ricky that he was finally ready to put his intelligence and charm into a legitimate enterprise. Ricky smiled, a genuine, gentle smile. He told Julian about his realization that the simple things like building the sturdy deck beneath their feet brought him far more satisfaction than any chaotic illegal scheme ever did. He thought about his daughter and his grandson and how he wanted to be a reliable, strong presence in their lives. He acknowledged that losing Susan was painful, but it was also a necessary wake-up call that forced him to reevaluate his self-worth and his life choices. Down the street, Bubbles was already hard at work cleaning his brewing equipment and preparing for another busy day of production. He looked up and saw his two best friends walking toward him. They did not have the frantic, desperate energy they usually carried. Instead, they walked with a calm, steady purpose. Ricky and Julian approached Bubbles and offered their sincere apologies. They told him they had heard every single word of his speech and were deeply moved by his love and concern. Julian proposed a new partnership. He offered to use his organizational skills to help Bubbles expand the brand legally and efficiently. Ricky volunteered his mechanical expertise to maintain the delivery vehicles and upgrade the brewing equipment, ensuring everything ran smoothly. Bubbles felt his heart swell with immense joy. He pulled his two brothers into a tight, emotional embrace. The trailer park would always be a place of eccentric characters and unpredictable events, but for Ricky, Julian, and Bubbles, a fundamental shift had occurred. They had finally chosen the harder but far more rewarding path of honest work and true maturity. As they spent the rest of the day working together, laughing and planning for a bright, legitimate future, they knew that their unbreakable bond of friendship was the greatest wealth they could ever possess. The sun set gently on a day of profound healing, proving that even the most stubborn hearts can learn to embrace positive change and walk toward a better, brighter tomorrow. The evening sky cast a warm golden glow over the microwave popcorn. It was a low point, a moment of stark clarity that made him realize the old ways of operating were no longer sustainable. He saw Bubbles succeeding and felt a mixture of genuine pride and desperate envy. He tried to frame his interest as professional concern, asking about valuation and profit margins, but Bubbles saw right through it. Bubbles knew that Julian was looking for a life raft, and while he loved his friend, he was determined to keep his business legit. Meanwhile, at the edge of the park, two figures were making their return. Mr. Leahy and Randy were walking through the gates, having spent a significant amount of time away, reflecting on their lives and their bond. Their time in confinement had, surprisingly, brought them closer together. They had discovered a new depth to their relationship, a sense of mutual support that transcended their usual roles as the enforcers of park order. They were starting over from scratch, with nothing but the clothes on their backs and a secret sum of money provided by a police officer named Ted. It was hush money, intended to keep them silent about the irregularities of a previous investigation. It was $50,000, a fortune that could either be their salvation or their undoing. Ricky, having returned from his disastrous harvest with a bandaged arm and a bruised ego, was not ready to give up on his big announcement. He had spent the afternoon working on his trailer, or more accurately, on top of it. He had constructed a magnificent second story, a palace of wood and reclaimed materials that featured a kitchen, a bedroom, and a patio that looked out over the entire park. It was a testament to his ingenuity, a place where he could live like a king. He had even installed a complex plumbing system involving a hose that led to a downstairs bathroom. It was here, on his new deck, that he brainstormed with Corey and Jacob about what the big announcement should be, now that the crop was gone. The ideas ranged from the absurd to the impossible. Corey suggested that Ricky should pretend to be deceased, while Jacob thought he should run for the presidency of the country. Ricky dismissed these, searching for something that carried emotional weight. He wanted to do something for Susan, the woman who had captured his heart over the last few months. Despite their frequent and loud arguments, the passion between them was undeniable. He decided that the announcement would be an engagement, and to make it truly grand, he would present her with a horse. A horse, he reasoned, was a majestic animal that lived on a farm and ate grass, making it a locally sourced symbol of his eternal devotion. The logistics of obtaining and transporting a horse into the trailer park were, predictably, a nightmare. Corey and Jacob were tasked with the delivery, which resulted in physical injury and a great deal of confusion. But eventually, the animal was brought to the center of the park, where a crowd had gathered for the festivities. Bubbles' beer was flowing, and the atmosphere was festive, though colored by the usual underlying tension that defined Sunnyvale social events. Ricky stood on his high deck, looking down at his friends and neighbors, feeling a sense of nervous excitement. This was his chance to prove that he could be a family man, a stable provider, and a romantic lead. But Susan's arrival did not go as planned. She did not see the horse as a symbol of love, nor did she see the engagement as a romantic gesture. Instead, she arrived in a whirlwind of fury, accusing Ricky of infidelity and, more specifically, of passing on a medical condition that she had discovered after being asked to leave her previous residence. The argument that followed was a spectacular display of verbal gymnastics and public airing of grievances. The dream of a peaceful, romantic engagement evaporated in the heat of Susan's anger. She dismissed Ricky as a loser and walked away, leaving him standing among the ruins of his big night. As the sun began to set, the park returned to its usual state of quiet chaos. Mr. Leahy and Randy sat together, contemplating their secret fortune. Leahy, influenced by the spirits and his own peculiar logic, suggested that they could double their money at the horse track, using the liquor as their guide. It was a plan fraught with risk, but for men who had lost everything, it felt like a grand adventure. Julian, still struggling with his finances, managed to procure a few beers from Bubbles, a small victory in a day that had felt like a long series of defeats. In the deepening twilight, the three friends, Ricky, Julian, and Bubbles, sat together. Bubbles, moved by the events of the day and the sight of his friends' aging faces, delivered a heartfelt plea. He spoke of the need to grow up, to stop breaking the law like they were 17, and to find a way to live that didn't involve the constant threat of jail. He spoke of the importance of family and the reality of their own mortality. It was a moment of profound honesty, a rare occasion where the mask of bravado was dropped. They were getting older, and the world was changing around them. If they wanted to survive, they had to change with it. Ricky sat in silence, the weight of Bubbles' words sinking in. He thought about his daughter, Trinity, and his grandson, the little boy who looked up to him. He thought about the palace he had built on top of his trailer and the horse that was now wandering somewhere in the distance. He realized that the greatest achievement wasn't a secret crop or a grand announcement, but the simple fact that he had friends who were willing to tell him the truth, even when it hurt. As the stars began to twinkle over Sunnyvale, there was a sense that perhaps, just perhaps, a new chapter was beginning. It wouldn't be easy, and there would undoubtedly be more schemes and mishaps along the way, but for now there was peace. And in the trailer park, peace was the most valuable commodity of all. The night air was still, and the distant sound of a dog barking echoed through the rows of trailers. The three men shared a quiet moment, the bond between them reinforced by the trials of the day. They were a family, not by blood, but by shared history and mutual resilience. They had survived another day in Sunnyvale, and as long as they had each other, they would find a way to face whatever tomorrow brought. The beer was cold, the spirits were high, and the future, though uncertain, felt like it was finally within their reach. The evening sky hung heavy over the park as Ricky stood alone taking a deep breath of the crisp air. This was a monumental night for him. He looked at the horizon and thought about how he finally did something of his own and it paid off. He realized that was why things got messed up in the past because of Julian and Bubbles constantly intervening. He felt a surge of pride knowing he finally got himself learned. He told himself if a man wants something done properly, he must do it with his own two hands. Ricky stood in the clearing talking to his loyal but simple-minded companions Corey and Jacob. He boasted about his independence. He declared that he finally did something of his own and it was paying off. He reminded them that relying on Julian and Bubbles in the past had always led to disaster. He patted his chest and announced that he had finally learned how the world works. If you want something done right, you do it yourself. Corey nodded eagerly and told Ricky that they totally had his back. Ricky immediately lost his patience and told Corey to keep quiet because he was trying to make a serious speech. Ricky then explained his master plan. He had secured an incredible backdoor deal with one of the dispensaries in the city of Halifax. It was a pure cash arrangement. He felt he was finally finished with his struggles and had achieved ultimate success. He pondered for a moment knowing that Julian and Bubbles would likely be upset when they found out he had operated behind their backs. To soften the blow, he decided he would throw a massive party. In his mind, parties were the universal remedy for any conflict. The group moved deeper into the woods past the dark tree line. Ricky instructed the boys to stay silent and focus. They needed to cut down the plants as fast as possible and escape before the sun came up. Corey and Jacob eagerly agreed, expressing their gratitude to Ricky for including them in the harvest. Suddenly, a loud noise shattered the quiet night. Panic instantly took hold. Corey asked in a trembling voice if it was the police. Another deafening blast echoed through the trees. It was a shotgun. Ricky yelled for the boys to run. Chaos erupted as shadowy figures emerged from the bushes, stealing their hard-earned harvest. Ricky watched in despair as his dreams of early retirement vanished into the cool night air. He cursed his terrible luck, wondering why the universe continually plotted against his success. Meanwhile, back at the trailer park, Bubbles was experiencing a rare moment of triumph. He stood proudly in front of his new brewing setup. He greeted Julian with a wide smile and invited him to inspect the equipment. Bubbles explained that he had sold his famous pizza sauce recipe to a foreigner with a strange accent and reinvested every single penny into making his own beer. It had started slowly, but now he was generating a decent income. He held up a bottle of his signature Green Bastard India Pale Ale, by promising a free case of drinks. Patience and calm proved to be the keys to maintaining good customer relations. The reconciliation meeting took place in a heavy and suffocating atmosphere. Accusations and blame were hurled back and forth as both sides voiced the grievances they had harbored for a long time. When the offer of financial compensation was finally presented, the anger of the old friend began to soften. The sincerity and the clear desire to make things right touched a nerve. An agreement was reached, opening a small door to mend the broken friendship. The grand moment finally arrived. The party was in full swing, and the air was thick with anticipation. A sincere speech was delivered, expressing deep gratitude to those who had remained loyal through thick and thin. And then the moment of the big reveal came. As the veil was lifted, the one-of-a-kind engagement gift was presented. Stunned silence fell over the guests as the magnificent, brightly colored horse was led forward, carrying a message of profound and honest love. His closest friends could not hide their anxiety at such an impulsive gesture. They offered heartfelt advice, reminding him of the true nature of love. True affection does not require extravagant gifts or grand performances. It is built on understanding, respect, and the quiet bond between two souls. The encounter with the leading lady of the evening did not go as planned. Her arrival brought a storm of uncontrollable rage. Accusations of deception, of hiding the truth, and of general irresponsibility were shouted for all to hear. She felt deeply betrayed upon discovering that he had used their collective savings to invest in a secret project without ever consulting her. Her disappointment sharpened into words that cut deep into his pride. He tried to explain, tried to defend his actions and his love, but his words fell on deaf ears. The fundamental differences in their outlook on life and their ways of handling problems had pushed them to a breaking point. A final decision to part ways was made, leaving behind a trail of regret and a lingering sadness. His friends could only offer comfort, advising him to let go so he could find a new sense of peace. Everything happens for a reason, and sometimes, a separation is the necessary prelude to a better future. In the meantime, the two men with the hush money began to entertain foolish ideas. Instead of using the funds for something meaningful, they were seduced by the allure of quick riches at the horse racing track. The hope of doubling or tripling their fortune easily clouded their judgment. It was a harsh lesson on the dangers of temptation and the consequences of failing to appreciate what one already has. As a long day filled with upheaval drew to a close, a small and quiet gathering took place among the three closest friends. Requests for loans and complaints about the lack of money were once again voiced. But this time, one friend stood up and decided to break the silence with a speech that was as emotional as it was profound. With a voice that wavered but remained firm, he asked them to listen with their whole hearts. He reaffirmed the boundless love he felt for them, a love that had been tested by time and hardship. But alongside that love was a harsh truth that could no longer be ignored. He told them to look into the mirror, to really see the changes that the passing years had etched onto their faces. Youth was slipping away, health was fading, and yet the impulsive actions and the reckless decisions of 17-year-olds were still dominating their lives. Constantly breaking the rules of morality and law yielded no rewards. It only pointed toward a future of loneliness and isolation. He used his own journey as an example, speaking of the honest path he was trying to carve out for himself. Though it was difficult and required immense effort, it brought a sense of peace and a life worth living. If they continued down their current path, the only thing waiting for them would be a cold and lonely end. In the final moments of their lives, there would be no family to hold their hands, no home to provide comfort, and he, their oldest friend, would not be able to follow them forever to clean up the wreckage. It was a profound wake-up call, a plea from the very depths of his soul for his friends to finally wake up. He begged them to stop wasting their lives and to start building something responsible and good. His final words echoed in the silence, leaving a space for each man to reflect on the trajectory of his life. A single drink was shared, not to forget their troubles, but to awaken the deepest thoughts within their souls. There was a hope that this moment of clarity would take root, opening a new and brighter chapter for them all. The sun began to crest over the horizon of the trailer park, casting long golden shadows across the gravel paths and the neatly trimmed patches of grass that the residents called their yards. It was a morning that felt heavy with the promise of change, though in this particular corner of the world, change often arrived wearing a strange hat and carrying a cooler of questionable origin. Ricky stood at the edge of the woods, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. This was his moment. For years, he had been a part of schemes that spiraled out of control, usually because of the complicated plans of Julian or the well-meaning but frantic interference of Bubbles. But this time it was different. This was his own project, his own secret, and for the first time in his life, he felt like a man with a true vision. He had spent the entire summer tucked away in the dense foliage near the bluff, tending to a crop that he believed would change his destiny forever. He had studied, in his own way, learning the rhythms of the earth and the needs of the plants. He had realized that if you want something done right, you have to be the one to hold the shovel. Of course, Corey and Jacob had been there too, lurking in the shadows and offering their brand of misguided assistance. But the soul of the operation belonged to Ricky. He looked at the tall, vibrant stalks and felt a sense of pride that was almost overwhelming. He had a deal in place, a backdoor arrangement with a dispensary in the city that promised actual cash. No more bartering for used car parts or trading favors for groceries. This was going to be the end of the struggle. The air was cool and filled with the scent of pine and dew as Ricky led his two shadows through the brush. He told them to keep quiet, a task that was historically difficult for either of them. They reached the clearing just as the light began to bleed through the trees. Ricky felt a surge of adrenaline. They needed to move fast, to harvest the fruits of their labor before the rest of the world woke up and started asking questions. He could already imagine the look on Julian's face when he revealed his success. Julian and Bubbles would be annoyed that they were left out, but a massive party would surely smooth things over. In Ricky's philosophy, there was no social friction that could not be lubricated by a good celebration. Suddenly, a thunderous crack shattered the silence of the woods. It was a sound that vibrated in the marrow of their bones. Corey and Jacob dove for the dirt, their eyes wide with a terror that only those who have spent significant time in the back of a police cruiser can truly understand. Ricky felt a sharp, searing heat across his arm. It wasn't the police, but the sting was real nonetheless. It was a shotgun blast, a warning from the unknown guardians of the woods. The chaos that followed was a blur of shouting and scrambling. The crop, the beautiful, tall plants that represented his retirement, were being hauled away by others who had been watching from the darkness. Ricky felt a soul-crushing weight settle in his chest. Why did the world always seem to pull the rug out from under him just as he was about to stand tall? While Ricky was grappling with his misfortune in the woods, Bubbles was experiencing a different kind of mourning. He was standing in his shed, surrounded by the clinking of glass and the sweet, yeasty aroma of fermenting grain. He had moved on from hauling shopping carts, a profession that had served him well but lacked the upward mobility he now craved. He had sold a secret sauce recipe and reinvested every single cent into his new passion, the brewing of beer. He called it the Green Bastard India Pale Ale, and to his immense surprise and delight, the people of the park couldn't get enough of it. It was honest work, and it felt good to see a product go from a bubbling vat to a labeled bottle. However, Bubbles felt a different kind of pressure. Ricky had ordered 22 cases of beer for a major announcement party, and Bubbles was working double time to ensure the supply met the demand. He was happy for his friend, but he was also wary. In Sunnyvale, a major announcement usually involved something that would eventually require a lawyer. Julian wandered over, his ever-present glass of dark liquid clinking with ice. Julian looked tired. His shoulders slumped in a way that suggested the weight of the world was finally catching up to his muscular frame. He watched Bubbles work with an interest that was far from casual. Julian was broke. It was a difficult admission for a man who prided himself on being the mastermind of every operation. He had spent the previous evening watching a movie in his trailer, unable to even afford the simple luxury of though the entire universe was conspiring against him, repeatedly pushing him into situations that were as tragic as they were absurd. Returning to the present moment, he found himself in the glow of a bright morning filled with fresh energy. He stood tall, brimming with pride as he showcased his new business venture to anyone who would listen. He had sold a family recipe for tomato sauce to a partner with a rather peculiar accent and had reinvested every single penny into a craft beverage workshop. The beginning had been fraught with challenges and obstacles, characterized by slow progress and moments of total stagnation. However, through sheer persistence and an unrelenting work ethic, the business had finally begun to turn a significant profit. His signature herbal beverage was now being sold in large quantities to the residents living around the local park. Business was booming, and with that success came a considerable amount of pressure. Today was an exceptionally busy day. One of the friends in their group was preparing to make a monumental announcement and had decided to host a massive gathering. An order for 22 cases of various drinks meant he had to work at peak capacity, bottling the liquid and preparing for delivery. This event clearly carried immense weight. His heart was full of excitement mixed with a healthy dose of professional pride. When his old friends came to visit, they were visibly stunned by the dramatic transformation he had undergone. They asked about the state of his business, and he shared with pride that everything was going exceptionally well. His current occupation brought him a sense of joy and tranquility that was 100 times better than the backbreaking manual labor he had endured in the past. Seeing his success, one of the friends proposed a partnership, suggesting they create a line of nutritional supplement drinks featuring his own name and image. Their playful banter filled the air, dissolving the usual tensions of the day. However, beneath the laughter, there was a layer of deep concern. The friend began to ask technical questions about the valuation of the company, about profit margins, and about weekly sales figures. This sudden interest made him feel slightly defensive, but he quickly responded with the confidence of a legitimate businessman. He insisted that he was fully acquainted with all the commercial terminology and that he had everything under control. Meanwhile, another friend in the group was struggling with overwhelming financial difficulties. He lamented his empty pockets and the hardships he faced in trying to find legal and stable employment. A life of honesty seemed cruelly out of reach for him. A movie date the night before had turned into a humiliating memory when his girlfriend had to step in and pay for the popcorn. His pride as a man was deeply wounded. Advice on saving money was offered, but it did nothing to ease the frustration boiling inside him. Despite his poverty, his self-respect prevented him from accepting charity from his friends, creating a situation that was both heartbreaking and humorous. Another character appeared, sporting a large and ugly wound on his arm that immediately drew everyone's attention. When questioned, he began to recount the details of a romantic relationship that had lasted for 5 months. Everything seemed to be progressing beautifully. He felt happy because he finally had someone to share the joys and sorrows of life with. The bond between the two of them was so deep that it had inspired him to change, to start exercising and get back into shape so he could be worthy of this love. Although the girlfriend was known to have a fierce and difficult personality at times, the sincerity of their affection was undeniable. Yet, behind this romance, his friends harbored a quiet and persistent anxiety about the immense influence the woman held over his thoughts and decisions. The story behind the arm injury was explained as a comical accident. During a trial run of a new game involving rollerblades on mountainous terrain with 2 younger companions, they had lost control and crashed into a patch of rough gravel. The impact had been severe, leaving them all with minor injuries and small stones embedded in their skin. The clumsy attempt to justify where they had acquired the rollerblades only added to the humor of the tale. The transparent lies were quickly unraveled by the sharp eyes of those around them. Eventually, the truth had to be revealed. A late confession regarding a secret project was voiced. Throughout the entire summer, he had not actually been attending a small engine repair certification course or a crane operator training class as he had promised his family. Instead, he had been secretly investing his time and energy into a nursery for rare agricultural plants in a remote and secluded area. He spoke passionately about his achievements, describing a unique hybrid strain, a modern irrigation system, and 75 plants that were thriving and reaching toward the sky. It was a venture that promised a massive income, enough for him to proudly announce an early retirement. But life rarely follows a perfect script. The previous night, all his hard work had vanished. Unknown individuals had trespassed, destroyed the site, and stolen every bit of his hard-earned harvest. Despair and anger surged within him, but were immediately met with the sharp reprimands of his family. The disappointment was etched clearly on his wife's face. She could not believe her husband had once again fallen into his old patterns, dragging their son-in-law into a risky and ill-conceived plan. His weak justifications did nothing to calm the storm. The most sincere advice given to him was to let go, to accept the failure, and to start over with a truly honest path. Despite the spectacular failure of his secret plan, he remained adamant that he had another announcement of even greater importance. It was something entirely different, carrying a meaning far beyond any business venture. People were skeptical, but they decided to wait and see what surprise he had in store. In a different setting, 2 men who had recently experienced a major life upheaval were looking for a way to rebuild. They cherished their newfound freedom and the bond of friendship that had helped them navigate the most difficult times. The love and understanding between them had only deepened. When faced with a man offering a large sum of hush money, they remained quiet and accepted the terms. This money, instead of being used for public purposes, had been cleverly diverted into their hands. A secret agreement was made, requiring them to maintain absolute silence in exchange for a peaceful life. They departed with a significant amount of capital, harboring new dreams for their future. The story shifted back to the preparations for the grand event. The living space had been renovated in a creative and highly unconventional way, reflecting the eccentric personality of its owner. An outdoor entertainment area had been carefully designed with recliners, a television, and a powerful sound system. Pride radiated from him as he introduced each item he had built with his own hands. However, the pressure to deliver a truly impressive announcement caused him to feel flustered. Bizarre ideas began to circulate among the group. They considered everything from spreading wild rumors to attract attention to pretending to run for an absurd political office. Every effort was focused on creating the most grand and shocking entrance possible. The idea of using a heavy construction vehicle was discarded in favor of something more audacious: a large animal. After a series of humorous and naive debates, they settled on a horse. A horse, decorated with vibrant colors, would be the perfect engagement gift, a symbol of the immense love he felt for his girlfriend. The plan was finalized, even though there were still some ridiculous suggestions about attaching a fake horn to turn the animal into a unicorn. Meanwhile, the two men with the hush money were contemplating how to use their windfall. Their initial intention was to use the funds to reconcile with an old friend and erase the misunderstandings of the past. They realized that the conflicts and fractures of the past had caused far too much pain for everyone involved. A sense of regret and a desire to heal the relationship pushed them toward the decision to share a portion of their wealth. It was a decision rooted in humanity, aiming for forgiveness and the restoration of a brotherhood. The mission to transport the unique engagement gift was marked by clumsiness and awkwardness. The horse, with its fur dyed in bright and startling colors, became the centerpiece of several hilarious situations. Managing such a large animal required a level of coordination they simply did not possess, resulting in several painful accidents. One unfortunate friend suffered injuries to his neck and ribs due to their total lack of experience. Worry for their friend's health was mixed with frustration over their own lack of foresight. The craft beverage business continued to thrive amidst the chaos. Deliveries to the local residents provided a steady stream of income. The small truck, decorated with eye-catching designs, drew plenty of attention. However, not every customer was easy to please. A harsh complaint from a particularly difficult individual regarding noise and minor property damage created a tense atmosphere. Through tact and a polite demeanor, the businessman managed to resolve the situation. Gesture. She simply requires your heart, your honesty. Before Richard could process Julian's wise words, a car screeched to a halt nearby. Susan stormed out, her face flushed with fury. The crowd parted as she marched toward the stage. "Richard," she cried out, her voice echoing through the quiet park. "We are entirely finished." Richard blinked in confusion. "Susan, my darling, what is the matter? I brought you this magnificent equestrian gift. I was preparing to ask for your hand in marriage." "Marriage?" Susan scoffed, tears of anger and betrayal in her eyes. "I just received a call from an acquaintance. A terrible, malicious rumor is circulating about you, Richard. A rumor that you have been unfaithful, that you have betrayed my trust with someone else in this very neighborhood. I cannot build a life with a man I cannot trust." "Susan, I swear to you," Richard pleaded, stepping down from the stage, his heart breaking. "I have been entirely devoted to you. The rumor is utterly false. My only secret was my foolish botanical garden, which I have already confessed to my family. I have given my heart to no one but you." But the damage of the misunderstanding was too deep, the emotions too volatile. Susan refused to listen to reason. In a flurry of harsh words and misplaced anger, she turned and walked away, leaving Richard standing alone in the dust, the majestic horse whinnying softly behind him. The crowd stood in stunned silence. Julian walked over and placed a comforting hand on Richard's shoulder. Let her go, my friend. It is for the best. True love should not be built on a foundation of constant conflict and mistrust. You deserve tranquility. Bubbles approached, offering Richard a small cup of his finest sparkling water. Drink this, Richard. It will help calm your nerves. We are here for you. As the evening deepened and the crowd dispersed, leaving only the closest of friends sitting beneath the starlit sky, a profound stillness settled over the group. The events of the day had stripped away their pretenses, leaving them vulnerable and reflective. Bubbles stood up, adjusting his glasses. He looked at Richard, bruised and heartbroken, and at Julian, struggling to find his path. He cleared his throat, the gentle sound commanding immediate respect. Gentlemen, Bubbles began, his voice steady and resonant with heartfelt emotion. I must share something that has been weighing heavily on my spirit. Please, simply listen. Richard and Julian looked up, giving Bubbles their undivided attention. I love you both dearly, Bubbles said, placing a hand over his heart. I always have and I always will. You are my family. But we must face a difficult truth. Have either of you looked closely into a mirror recently? Have you truly examined the reflection staring back at you? He paused, letting the question hang in the cool night air. We are advancing in age, my friends. We are no longer the invincible youths we once were. Time is moving forward, yet our behaviors remain stagnant. We continue to seek out shortcuts, to engage in foolish schemes, acting as though we are still reckless teenagers. And what is the result? Heartbreak, physical injury, and constant instability. Bubbles gestured toward his beverage shed, standing proudly in the distance. I have found a legitimate path. I have discovered the quiet, profound satisfaction of honest labor and fair trade. I want the same for you. I know how easily desperation can lead to poor choices, but those poor choices will only lead us to isolation and sorrow. Tears welled in Bubbles' eyes as he looked directly at Richard. If we do not change our ways, we risk spending our golden years separated from the ones we love, locked away from the beauty of this world. When the time comes for us to draw our final breaths on this earth, I want us to be surrounded by family, by warmth, and by love. I do not want us to be alone. He stepped forward, placing a hand on both of their shoulders. If you truly value our brotherhood, if you love yourselves as much as I love you, then the era of taking the easy road must end tonight. We must commit to honesty, to hard work, and to lifting each other up. This is our moment to truly mature. Silence reigned for a long, poignant moment. The crickets chirped softly in the surrounding woods. Richard looked at the ground, a solitary tear rolling down his bruised cheek. He nodded slowly, the truth of Bubbles' words piercing his heart. You are absolutely right, Bubbles, Richard whispered, his voice thick with emotion. I apologize for my deception. I am ready to build a real life. Julian let out a long, heavy breath, the tension leaving his shoulders. He looked at his two best friends, realizing that their bond was the truest wealth he could ever possess. Thank you, Bubbles, Julian said softly. I needed to hear that. Tomorrow is a new day for all of us. Under the vast, starlit canopy of the night sky, the three friends sat together, unified by a newfound sense of purpose. The challenges of life would undoubtedly continue, but as they looked toward the horizon, they knew they would face them not with foolish schemes or reckless behavior, but with the quiet, enduring strength of an honest brotherhood. The winds of change had finally swept through their lives, bringing with them the promise of a brighter, more beautiful tomorrow. Tonight was a night of immense significance for him. For the first time in his long and often chaotic life, he had accomplished something entirely on his own, and it had finally yielded a result that felt like true success. Looking back at the long stretch of months and years that had slipped through his fingers, he realized the primary reason why everything had always veered off course. He had spent his life trapped in a cycle of stagnation because he had always been tethered to the whimsical and often disastrous ideas of his closest companions. But now the tides had turned. He had taken the time to educate himself, to learn the hard way through trial and error, and to finally grow into the man he was meant to be. There was a fundamental truth he had recently discovered. If you want a task completed with absolute perfection, you must take the reins yourself. Of course, during this arduous journey, his brothers in arms had offered a small measure of support, but the vast majority of the effort and the unwavering will had come from his own two hands. He vividly recalled the cacophony of arguments that used to erupt whenever they discussed a plan, the dismissive gestures and the frustrated shouts that would silence him before he could even finish a sentence. But he had pushed past all that noise. The most important thing was that he had successfully negotiated a magnificent deal in the city. It was a transaction conducted entirely in cash, transparent and fair. Money had changed hands directly. He had reached his goal. He had finally done what he had dreamed of doing for so many years. Yet, deep within the recesses of his heart, he knew that his two dearest friends would likely feel a sting of resentment, or perhaps even an outburst of anger, when they learned of this secret achievement. He probably should have shared the news with them from the very beginning, but he had chosen the path of the lone wolf. To make amends for this omission, he decided he would throw a celebratory party so grand it would be impossible to stay mad. In his simple and eternally optimistic mind, parties possessed a unique and magical power to mend any fracture and soothe any lingering bitterness. Memories of a stormy harvest night suddenly flooded his mind. That night, the sky had been an oppressive void, devoid of even a single glimmering star. He had led his group of friends, stepping with extreme caution through the dense and tangled thicket. His voice had been a low hiss, commanding and sharp, warning everyone to remain absolutely silent and to avoid any foolish mistakes. The plan had been simple in theory. Harvest the entire agricultural garden they had so painstakingly cultivated as quickly as possible and retreat to safety before the first light of the rising sun touched the horizon. Everyone had agreed with enthusiastic nods, their hearts filled with determination and a reckless sort of excitement. Confidence was high. They truly believed they were the masters of their own destiny. But then, a harsh and metallic sound tore through the stillness of the night. The noise erupted from a hidden security system, causing everyone to jump in sheer terror. Panic, cold and sharp, took hold of them instantly. There were screams of shock and the sound of frantic footsteps as they scrambled to escape, stumbling over one another in the dark. In the ensuing chaos, they fell, rolling across the ground that was carpeted with sharp and unforgiving gravel. A wave of profound disappointment washed over him. He felt as though happiness. Meanwhile, miles away in the quiet confines of the trailer park, a very different sort of enterprise was thriving. Bubbles stood proudly in his meticulously organized shed, the morning sun streaming through the small window, illuminating his gleaming new equipment. He had transformed his modest living space into a beacon of entrepreneurial success. "Good morning, gentlemen." Bubbles greeted his friends with a radiant smile as they walked through the door. "Observe the new infrastructure. I officially sold my famous pizza sauce recipe to a lovely gentleman with a fascinating accent, and I reinvested every single penny into this artisanal beverage company." He gestured expansively to the row of pristine glass bottles, filled with a golden, bubbling liquid. "Business is absolutely flourishing," Bubbles declared, his eyes magnified and twinkling behind his thick glasses. "I am providing a quality product to the good people of this community. However, I must admit, I am operating under a significant amount of pressure today. Richard has announced a grand gathering, and he ordered 22 cases of my finest brew. It must be a truly historic announcement." Julian, holding his signature glass of iced water, looked around the shed with a mixture of admiration and thinly veiled envy. "How is the commerce treating you, my friend?" "It is wonderfully fulfilling, Julian," Bubbles replied, wiping down a spotless counter. "It is far more rewarding than our previous, less dignified endeavors." Julian leaned against the wooden frame of the door, his mind calculating. You know, Bubbles, I was contemplating your success. Perhaps we could collaborate. You could create a beverage bearing my likeness. A high-protein drink for fitness enthusiasts. That is an amusing concept, Julian. Bubbles chuckled politely, though he expertly steered the conversation back to his own achievements. Tell me about your financial metrics, Julian pressed, his tone shifting to one of serious business. Are your profit margins substantial? Bubbles paused, a knowing look passing over his gentle features. He understood exactly what was happening. Julian was currently experiencing severe financial hardship. He was destitute, and suddenly he was taking a profound interest in Bubbles' thriving, legitimate enterprise. Julian, Bubbles said softly, adopting a tone of educational patience. I am well aware of the concepts of company valuation and profit margins. I have been studying modern business practices. I know you are struggling right now. You told me just yesterday that you could not even afford a simple box of popcorn for your evening entertainment. Julian looked away, his pride visibly wounded. It is difficult, Bubbles. I am trying to walk a righteous path to be a legitimate citizen, but the transition is incredibly challenging. It is embarrassing to be so financially vulnerable. Bubbles' heart softened. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a crisp banknote, offering it to his friend. Here, please take this. There is no shame in accepting support from a friend. Julian shook his head stubbornly. I do not want your charity. It is not charity, Julian, Bubbles insisted kindly. It is an investment in your well-being. Please, take it. Their quiet moment was abruptly interrupted by the arrival of Richard, who stumbled into the shed looking like he had wrestled a mountain and lost. His clothes were torn, and he was nursing a significant series of scrapes and bruises across his arms and chest. Richard, heavens above, Bubbles gasped, rushing forward. What on earth happened to you? Richard winced, trying to maintain a facade of bravado. It is nothing serious. Corey, Jacob, and I were partaking in some aggressive rollerblades skating down a very steep hill. We encountered a treacherous patch of loose gravel and suffered a rather dramatic tumble. Rollerblade skating? Julian raised a skeptical eyebrow. Where would you even acquire such equipment? I hope you did not acquire them through unsavory means. Absolutely not, Richard replied indignantly. We purchased them from a lovely new sporting goods boutique in town. It was a perfectly innocent recreational activity that ended in a minor mishap. The truth, however, could not remain hidden for long. Later that afternoon, surrounded by his daughter Trinity and her husband Jacob, who was also sporting a collection of spectacular bruises, Richard finally broke down. The weight of his deception was too heavy to carry. Family, I owe you a profound apology, Richard confessed, his voice heavy with remorse. He stood in the center of their modest living room, looking at the people he loved most. I have not been entirely truthful about my activities this summer. I was not attending the small engine repair certification program, nor was I enrolled in the heavy machinery course. Trinity crossed her arms, her expression a mix of disappointment and concern. Father, what have you been doing? I was secretly cultivating a very large, unauthorized botanical garden in the woods, Richard admitted, staring at the floor. I thought if I could just complete this one massive harvest, I could provide for all of us forever. I wanted to give you the life you deserve. But last night, my harvest was discovered and taken by rivals. All my hard work, my entire investment, vanished in an instant. You took my husband on a dangerous midnight excursion? Trinity asked, her voice trembling. He volunteered, Richard offered weakly, though he knew it was a poor defense. But I take full responsibility. I see now that trying to bypass the system, trying to take the easy road, only leads to ruin. I have learned my lesson. He looked at their worried faces and felt a surge of determination. But do not despair. I still have a magnificent announcement to make today. Something entirely separate from my failed botanical venture. Something that will bring joy to us all. While Richard attempted to salvage his dignity, another dramatic shift was occurring at the local police precinct. Mr. Leahy and his loyal companion, Randy, were being released from temporary holding. The air outside the station tasted sweeter than they remembered. Officer Theodore stood before them, a stern expression on his face. Due to a complex clerical error and a desire to utilize seized funds for community police upgrades, Theodore offered the two men a substantial sum of money to walk away quietly and forget the entire ordeal. "This is an opportunity for a fresh start," Theodore told them, handing over the envelope. "Use this wisely. Rebuild your lives on a foundation of honesty." Mr. Leahy clutched the envelope, a tear glistening in his eye. "We will, Theodore. This time away has shown Randy and me the true strength of our bond. We have nothing left but each other, and this generous severance will allow us to start anew." As they walked away from the station, Randy looked at Mr. Leahy with wide, hopeful eyes. "What shall we do with this blessing, Mr. Leahy? We could offer it to Julian to make amends for the past." "No, Randy," Mr. Leahy said softly, a gentle smile gracing his weathered face. "We must look forward, not backward. We will invest this carefully. We will build a modest, peaceful life. Perhaps we will visit the equestrian park and admire the majestic animals, using our funds to enjoy the simple pleasures of the world." Back at the trailer park, the sun was beginning to set, casting a golden hue over the assembled community. Richard had gathered everyone for his grand announcement. The atmosphere was buzzing with curiosity. Bubbles had set up a beautiful beverage station, dispensing his artisanal drinks with a proud smile, while Julian stood quietly in the back, observing the scene. "Thank you all for gathering here," Richard announced, standing on a makeshift wooden stage. He looked nervous but deeply sincere. "Today is a day of profound significance. Corey, Jacob, bring forth the surprise." From behind a large recreational vehicle, Corey and Jacob emerged, struggling mightily to lead a massive, beautiful brown horse into the clearing. The crowd gasped in astonishment. "Richard, what on earth is this?" Bubbles asked, his eyes wide with wonder. "Why have you brought a farm animal to our residential community?" "This," Richard said, his voice trembling with emotion, "is a symbol of my vast and untamed love. I intended to present this magnificent creature to Susan, the woman I hold dear, as an engagement gift." The crowd murmured in surprise. Julian stepped forward, a look of genuine concern on his face. "Richard, if a woman truly loves you, she does not require a horse or any grand, extravagant